All right,
Record.
I'm recording. All right,
All set?
yep.
All right, calling to order the FinCom meeting on Tuesday, May 3rd at 7:04. Begin reviewing the warrants for the town meeting on May 6th. I think so, yeah. I mean, I think that's top of mind, Mike, actually. Yeah. That's. Second, guys, everybody review the documents we received. We believe is the most up-to-date warrant here. From the recommendation from the.
Since it's on one, it should be, unless maybe articles have changed, it should be okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to compare this quickly to the articles we received, or the information we received in hand. Yesterday to make sure it's up to date. Do we know if Kim's gonna be able to join us tonight? She did say she'd be available. Lonnie said he'd be available. He was here to see how we kick off and then hop over here. We can certainly reach out to him. I figured we'd work around the CDC articles to begin. I just kind of wanted for my own reference, it's like, I don't know if you guys will just jump ahead quickly. It looks to me like the dollar values that Ann has in her email to us don't look like they've been updated into the warrant unless this is the way they want to do this. I'm not sure. This is this
I think the warrant, as long as the warrant says raise and appropriate, then motion is made, which is another thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna make sure somebody's gonna make the motions.
And I did not copy the motions because there was 28 pages of them. But I have them here on my computer.
So Jean, if you can join the meeting, you could even share them.
Okay.
If you could. So open Teams.
So I can take one of those icons and,
Yeah, I'll share it.
I have to do.
It's just confusing without the FinComs to know which ones we're supposed to vote on, right?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, this is ridiculous.
The other thing too is,
This is like for clarification, like you guys know better than I do. What do you mean by the fact?
See right here where it says Article 6,
Yeah.
it says, that's who's presenting it. That's who's gonna speak to it.
Circle.
Well, I would see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer from available funds. That's a FinCom article. It should say FinCom. FinCom article, not a board of selectmen.
right, and we would typically vote on FinCom or CPA.
Right.
FinCom or CPA article is what we would typically vote on.
Right.
The other stuff, we don't,
Stop.
it doesn't have any financial, we don't typically, we don't.
Exactly.
The other question is, so the one we got, I'm looking at right now, has numbers in it, just like this one.
I noticed, yeah, no, absolutely. What Ann sent last night, you know, either is it deliberately not added the values in, like Mike was just starting to say earlier, where you can say raise and appropriate.
It says, the warrant, this goes back to the masses. As long as it says raise and appropriate.
Right. So,
Then the motion is. So we'll get up when the moderator says, okay. Article 7, Finance Committee. Finance Committee gets up, reads a motion that basically says this, but instead of raise and appropriate, it would say, rate, it'll have the dollar figure.
I think we typically do that just for a timing issue.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the direction.
So now,
Yeah, because like this aspect of the,
open what you want to put up.
Here.
there's no values on any of this.
Well, technically, if we have no FinCom articles, there's nothing for us to vote on, right? If you want to get technical, if we're here to vote on FinCom articles, there's nothing to vote on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the underlying motions
the exception perhaps the first one. that Mike's pointed
So
to
these are the
reflect
options.
who the movement is. So it does say, for example, under the motions, Article 2, it does say discussion finance committee, which I take to mean that's the whole tone. I'm gonna take the floor, Article 2,
That's the document.
but
You see that now? I see.
it says discussion finance committee. I'm sorry, this is what Gene, I think, is trying to display. This is the motions that are actually read on the town meeting floor, right?
Okay.
So the idea is every one of the articles,
So you're
written
sharing
motion
when
is
it's gonna
associated with it. So when somebody takes the podium, they're just reading
Oh, I know.
the motion, right? And then there's a specific dollar amount that's put in there as part of the motion. So the idea is that the moderator needs a written motion
Right.
from, the proponent of the particular article.
He'll read that. Okay, and then finance committee says. We make a motion. Make a motion to appropriate blah, 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 among the money.
So Article 1, Madam Select Board recommends the town vote that any or to
You can also select them, so we don't have to.
Well, according to what they gave us, finance committee, which we know better. But the finance committee, according to this paper, has no motions to present. So I know that's a mistake on.
Honestly, part of me wants to say we have no motions to present, and if we need to come back and do it, and if we have to push town meeting because of it, like, I'm almost willing to be stubborn enough to just say, forget it. So I want to go on record that this is the biggest cluster of an organization on process, expectations, being on time, on schedule with anything. This is a mess. I'm floored that this town is able to operate a $20 million budget with such loose expectations. I'm just floored.
We've been doing this for many, many years. We've decided to change change the path. So, Mike, let me ask you, you didn't happen to bring, that packet of stuff I gave you?
I do. I don't know if I have enough. I can go out and look in my truck. So I'm gonna do that
Because yeah.
because there's a good chance it might be in my truck.
Then I could
Let me
pull out and.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
See how I'm looking to see if I have one in that folder.
Well, I think I'll bring them up online. All of the old warrants are all online, right? So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. All of these, they should be.
See what I can see, so I can get onto their computer. Center.
I'll text Kim and ask her if she's able to join the meeting.
Do you have a,
Mhm.
you have last year's, his fiscal year's,
This is,
for this envelope?
this is special town meeting. Like one in November?
Yeah, FinComm.
That's what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
Yep. No, I remember this from last year, from special town meeting. That was that.
So I guess if.
I don't know why this is done this way, so I don't have any inside information other than this.
Well, if we had any sort of documented process expectations by our select board or town administrator that could give us guidance and be followed in any way, shape, or form, then maybe this could be expected. But I'm so tired of showing up and having surprises. I don't have time for this in my life.
Yeah.
Right? I did not sign up for this to be a process.
We had asked at the beginning of this budget season, for a layout of the procedure.
That was a joke. To have a single page of a few dates be considered a process is an absolute joke for a multitude of departments and the millions of dollars being spent here. That's a joke. I apologize for my demeanor and opinion at the moment, but
Listen,
I'm
you're entitled to it, I don't.
tired of this.
We're all entitled to our own opinion, believe it or not. Regardless of what people think.
Yeah, it's been a lot of months to get to where we are right now.
Yeah, right, the amount of time that it's taken to get here and to have nothing be finalized or completed in the town meeting is in 3 days, and to completely change everything, like,
You still should be able to jump on, you should give her a second, she's working the door. So,
You can see like Article 29, CPA. Well, the CPA is gonna get up and read that. Article 29, see if the town will vote, some of money, blah, blah,
All of these,
and then,
right?
and then what, they just look for our endorsement, if we say that's okay.
After the CPA gets up, makes this motion, and it's seconded by someone from CPA. The moderator is supposed to turn to the finance committee, and the finance committee recommendation is, and we usually say, we support this item. Simple.
Yeah, straightforward.
And that's Article 22 through 29.
Yeah, which makes sense, that's how it's always been for CPA money, right? That's not different.
That's not different.
Yeah, that's not different, right?
But we, as a formality, we're supposed to, the moderator is supposed to turn to the finance committee.
And then typically,
Ask.
all the other articles are supposed to be FinCom articles.
Right.
Now, basically, the select board is taking over the FinComs.
if the select board would like to dissolve the finance committee and change the bylaw and take over all of the role of it, then it's their prerogative.
Well, we gotta
But
go
they,
to the town meeting.
they gotta go to town meeting and change the process, right? So,
Yeah, 100%. It certainly seems like it's trying to head that way, doesn't it?
So again, section 5 of the finance committee bylaw. Town bylaw, the laws of the town. All officers, agents, and committees of the town shall give the finance committee access to their books, records, and accounts, and furnish all information with respect to the conduct of the town affairs that it shall request. It shall make reports and recommendations to the select board with respect to the management of town affairs and the conduct of all departments. We're supposed to be weighing in on it. I don't remember weighing in on anything this year.
All right. That all said, I'm not 100% sure what the best move is. I know Kim's gonna hop on here in a minute. Maybe she can explain it differently, better, or not differently. But that's kind of the only move I can think to make here. Perhaps it's a typographical.
I would hate to see yet another Microsoft product be the cause of issues in this town again, because an automatic field completion led to issues.
Right.
I wonder if it's because this is an old draft. That they all say select board. I wonder if a more current one.
Well, this is the one that was in the town crier.
Okay, did they all say select board?
I grabbed it.
All right.
They mailed it to my house.
Oh,
So do we want to go through and just highlight the ones that we should be?
well, we go through
I mean, we
and do the best we can, I guess.
yeah, let's just start.
You know what I mean? Because no matter what we do, we're gonna be critical.
So I mean, basically whatever happens here.
Somebody's doing it right.
Yeah, so
So
if
you know, all
these,
hell will break loose.
Oh, I'm for all hell breaking loose
Yeah.
and us having to push the town meeting because the process wasn't done.
there could be, I mean, everything's been moving.
There are times where I like to let the,
Yeah, we should make sure this is more up to date before we say.
you can ask my kids that.
As soon as she gets on, we can definitely do that. So are we're, no, this is in word form here. This is a little different. Is that, oh,
There she is.
Kim, how are you?
Hi.
On the warrant letter that we have here, as far as what was in the town crier, is that correct as far as saying select board for all those articles?
I don't know what warrant letter you're talking about. What are you talking about?
The warrant letter that was in the town crier and the warrant letter that is listed as the final draft. Yep, and the one that was supplied to us, all of the articles say select board or CPA.
Yes, that's correct.
So I guess,
So are you just looking for FinCom endorsement on all these?
So what happens for these articles is that the FinCom has to make a recommendation on any articles that are financial, expenditure financial. And in theory, tonight have voted on the funding source for those articles. So in the motions that I sent out the other day that I drafted, so in some of them I had to guess, I mean, I'm assuming they're correct, but like just use Bill's truck for an example. So I said $170,000 from CapEx to, to fund a brush truck.
I guess, Kim, one of the questions we have is that normally on the
Warrant.
the warrant, is listed under all items that are financially related. And this time, the select board is listed for all the items that are financially.
Right. After the last town meeting, there was some discussion between when Mike came on the board that the articles that are on the warrant are actually the select board's articles. And so they really should be the ones responsible for handling the discussion on the floor. So anything that gets put on, even if it's from the CPC or if it's from planning or from any, basically is done so, it's this through the select board. And then if you saw the motions that I put together the other day, then I put down in the discussion piece on some more specific. So like for the limits on the revolving account, I put finance committee there because I feel like that's the appropriate source to have that conversation on the floor. But the articles themselves on the warrant come through the selectmen. So Mike Morali is preparing to read all of the motions for all of the articles.
Okay, well, I mean, this is news to the finance.
Yeah, this is news to us, so. Okay.
yeah, I guess when are all of these discussions?
I have no idea now.
Is Mike reading the budget now, Tim, too? Or am I reading the budget as chairman of the finance?
So
Committee?
when we talked about this a couple of months ago at the selectmen's meeting, we talked about the articles being the selectmen's articles at that meeting. Mike and Lonnie at our last meeting talked amongst themselves about who was going to be reading them for this meeting, but there was a determination after the last annual town meeting, some discussion in which the articles would now be listed as selectmen's. And so I made that shift for this season. It's been this way this entire year. Yeah, that's why the articles on the spreadsheet that I gave you are only the articles that the FinCom needs to take a position on. And I'm pretty sure the last time I came to this meeting, I told you, maybe not who was reading them, but I said the two tasks we need from the FinCom, the role at town meeting is recommending a source for funding and then a recommendation on funding.
Okay, so we're not part of the discussion as far as questions or anything else as far as any of that goes, just a recommendation.
You don't need to lead the discussion. So the idea being Mike reads the article or whatever it may be. So let's just, any which one of them. Let's, well, I'll just keep going back to the brush truck. In theory, what should happen with Bill's truck is, because he's a department of the town, is selectmen read the article, then it goes, a motion gets made, then there's discussion. Then in the past couple of years when Mike was the chair, he would read a discussion paragraph or so. He's done that for the last couple of years. He's basically planning on doing the same thing that he's been doing for the last couple of years, starting the discussion saying, this is to fund a brush truck for the fire department. Funding source recommendation from the finance committee is CapEx, and the balance in CapEx is $358,000. And as you know, any expenditures over $25,000 can be charged to CapEx. And then they can continue to be discussion, but that's how it flows. And then the moderator should say finance committee recommendation.
Right,
And
that's how
then, yes,
this year-
and then you have one.
pass them.
What?
That's how it's gonna flow this year, you're saying, not how it's flowed in years past. Years
Yeah,
past. was-
Mike has been reading them for the last couple of years because I've been preparing them for the last couple of years.
I got a different role last year. Mike was the chair of the
Yeah, Mike's
finance
not-
committee, not on the select board.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
but I don't,
highlighting there's a change.
I don't think that in this particular instance, in theory, the select board should be making the argument. In theory, the finance committee should be talking about the financials, right? Why is this article on the warrant? The select board should have to justify that, right? So,
Maybe we're going by the finance committee's bylaw. I mean, we're supposed to be responsible for all aspects of the budget, like not just saying what account, right? Like,
recommendations on expenditures related to the town, which is why every article on the warrant that has a financial expenditure needs a recommendation from the finance committee.
So Kim, on the current warrant that is in place right now, which articles need that from?
So the ones that are on this spreadsheet from that you have been reviewing, so that would be 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I don't know about the Water Enterprise Fund. Just I assume so on their budget. I don't have that in front of me. The revolving account limits, yes. So 17, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And then all of the CPC ones, I imagine, I don't have their balances yet. So housing production plan, 27, 28, 29. So,
you don't have the email from Ann last night that gave all the balances in the.
well, I'm not updating. I had a conversation with Ann today. They're meeting right now to vote on those. Those numbers aren't final until they're voted right now. So I sent over what I had because Ellen needs it for the new electronic voting system yesterday. Lonnie's at that meeting now coming over.
So it ends at 26 or it was a warrant? So 20, is it 27, 28, 29 also?
Yeah, anything that has an expenditure.
Yeah, none of the rest are money related.
Okay.
So Kim, I think kind of post town meeting, it'd probably be a useful discussion to have with the select board about kind of process
Possibly.
around kind of, people are still voting on articles, the week of that, the town meeting's happening and the FinCom hasn't had an opportunity to weigh in on those probably until the night of the town meeting. I'm sure no one wants the process to be like this, right?
Well, certainly, but I would say that we don't have a lot of control over the timing of when the CPC votes on their numbers. Sometimes they voted on them on the floor right before the meeting. The department's numbers and the budget numbers are in and finalized. Sometimes these, like I said, I'm usually in the previous years when I have been controlling the calendar and we're controlling the budget, we have the hearing on the budget mid-April. Everything is done by mid-April. So
Right.
this is the latest I've ever seen it go. Even to the extent, I mean, the same week of the town meeting, this is the latest I've seen it. But and again, because of some confusion around the process, there are articles on the warrant now that for funding, sorry, my dog is about to bark, for funding that have never come fully before the select board for explanation. They've only gone before the FinCom. And so it's like, for instance, last week's meeting about the Parks project going from 180 to 300. The selectmen have only seen the 180 presentation on the same night that you were at the meeting. We don't have the detail on the 300, and we wouldn't have even had it unless Mike had mentioned it to me last week at our meeting. So there's a serious problem with the way that information is coming in to both groups, which is why we tried to streamline and have them all in one place at one time. But in my opinion, this should have been finalized in the middle of April.
Right, I mean, and since I've been on the finance committee, we've had only a few votes the night of the town meeting for kind of extraordinary items or for price change. If there was like a amount that was a price change.
Fully documented reason for a thing to happen. Yes.
Right. It was usually a onesie or a twosie, that something that popped up kind of in the last couple days that had a number change that we didn't have to vote on. But typically it's not, at least in my time on the finance committee, we haven't had this kind of fire drill, lack of information fire drill, at least in my time.
So
Well,
to some,
I have had the pleasure of going back and watching most of your meetings for this entire year, and I've sensed your frustration from the beginning with what has been perceived as a change in processes or lack of information. Quite frankly, I find it a little bit confusing on my end because my process has been the same for the last 7 of my 8 years here until this past year, in which we combined the FinComm and the selectmen's meetings. The information that this FinComm has received, including information from KVS, which is available upon request at any time, not access to the information directly to manipulate, but at any point, any type of information has always been available to anyone who has requested it. Printing of the reports correctly used to be in the finance committee, but was given to Rich Schofield a few years ago because of formatting, which was then taken over by my department to finalize so that we could stay on targeted schedules. So just some clarification on some previous points. There has been a lot of discussion within the group about process this year, about what was a process or disagreeing with the process or what is the process right now. The process has been the same for 7 years until this year. The forms have been the same for 7 years until this year. So I'm dumbfounded.
what's the drive the change? So hold on, so Kim, based on the statement that you just made, it seemed like the root cause of the issue around things being late and the process changing is the fact that we had a joint FinComm select board meeting to try and streamline some things. Because what you're saying
I
is
don't
that
actually think we're late in I don't believe on the budget side, on the things that I'm controlling, we haven't been late in the process at all. Your perception of when department's information came to you on a schedule that you thought it should be on is not actually the schedule that they had previously been putting it on in the last 7 years. So if it didn't meet that schedule, it's because they never had that schedule before. That's not a lack in a department not performing. That's a change in how you wanted something done in the future. That's it next year. Combining the information and the source online in one folder that everyone could access at the same time so that there's no confusion about that. That is a change for this year. Having separate meetings in the past was the format that we had, and I attended almost every single one of those meetings for the last 7 years. So you can imagine why I'm as confused as you are, all as frustrated, because I've spent many hours with the FinComm going through these details. So there are a lot of new members on this board. You don't have a lot of transition from the past, which is previous members that were on there who, and I'm not going to say we've had a lot of great, but typically what's happened is chairs take on a large role and they keep it kind of siloed, right? It's just easier that way. So going forward, I recommend everybody get more involved. This budget here is not that complicated. Our processes are not that complicated. We're not intentionally keeping information from anyone. Our budget is not that big. It's $8 million. It's not overly complicated. The departments aren't underperforming or not providing data on time. They're providing it in the way that they have since I've been here. And our budgets have been fine for 7 years. So with the exception of last year with one problem. So I just wanted to get my 2 piece in, since, you know, I haven't been able to attend all the meetings to actually answer a lot of your questions at the times about commentary about process or departments or what was done or not done in the past.
Well, I think in my point of view is having the departments come to the FinCom after the select board and present so that we have an opportunity to ask questions is a valuable time well spent. And that didn't happen this year, and I know it didn't happen because we tried to be more efficient. And it was it was for all the right reasons of trying to do the co-meeting. But in the end, it didn't kind of force a schedule for the department heads to come and present their budget to the FinCom in a timely manner. From where I sit.
Right. Well, I'm not sure really. I don't know. I mean, is there a department that you would have wanted additional information on that you didn't actually receive in an adequate amount of time? These articles on the warrant are separate from the budget, right?
Separate but related. If we're spending money, right?
Well,
need to know-
they're typically we finalize the budget and then we move on to the articles on the warrant, which are these things, right? In the last couple of weeks of April. And now we're about to move on to year-end transfers, which is happening next time. So yes, to the extent, like I said, most of the numbers that are on there haven't changed at all in a month or so. Maybe even longer than that at this point. They're articles of known commodities that we've known, transfers and things like that. What I don't know about, and which is adding to this already confusing and necessarily confusing situation, is the changing of the numbers around the CPC articles. That I have no control over. I don't know what the situation is there. And like I said, I can't provide you any detail on the articles because they haven't come to the select board, besides just asking for a spot on the warrant. So it's very tricky at this moment. That's highly unusual. It is highly unusual for there to be a $300,000 article on the warrant that we don't all know about 5 days before the town meeting.
And I think also the change that, has been discussed at the beginning with the select board taking a more active role in running through the articles was something that, wasn't communicated to us. And if it was at a meeting that I wasn't at, because I'm completely unaware of that change. And I'm not suggesting that it may be a good change or a bad change, but it just wasn't discussed with us.
Okay.
I mean,
I can't speak to that. All I can do is I changed the warrant. I told to make the change, I make the change, right?
I'm not suggesting it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just suggesting that it wasn't discussed.
So as one of the newest people here, yes, as I have gone through this, one, separating the budget, departmental budget warrants, I think is a piece that I've been confusing. So I have a lot of frustration around the fact that there's a meeting going on right now about articles that we're going on right at this point in time. So that's super frustrating to me. And my comments, when you rewatch this, Kim, you'll see I go on a little bit of a tirade at the beginning of it.
I've seen them all. Yes.
About my frustration on the process. I'm a very process-oriented person. I have a lot of expectations on myself and what I do about being ready for things like this in advance. And I don't feel like there are certain places where we haven't been ready. And probably my frustration is more around the CPC stuff. So maybe I need to separate that. I think your point about the information that's been provided and when, I understand Nick's point. I don't share in all of the, my opinion does not match his, but I understand his point. If the joint select board meeting wanted to go until 1 a.m. for us to ask the amount of questions that we had when that department was there talking to us, I'm perfectly fine with making the select board meeting go till 1 a.m. to get the questions we wanted. So I think we were offered the ability to ask questions at the same time. Whether we took advantage of it or not is a different story. What I'm frustrated in too, as a new person here, is to see things that, the rest of the board doesn't seem to know what's going on because things change from what they were last year, right? So I hear a lot of talk about, it's been the same for 7 to 8 years, Yet there's this stuff going on with CPC. We've changed everything having to do with the select board. Even the examples that you've provided that are supposed to help make your point that things haven't changed are actually reinforcing the fact that it changed, right? Mike Morale reading all of this up. Mike Morale reading the.
But that's, so to me, that's not necessarily really a process change. That's a call that they're making on their own. That's their decision, right?
Okay.
That to me has very little to do with the budget process and us making sure the numbers are right. Well, that's more of a policy decision, right? I can understand the frustration around it, but at the end of the day, if that's what they want to do, that's what we do. Let me add this caveat. I know that you are all well-intentioned. I know many of you. I know no one wants to waste their time on a committee where they don't have input and they're not doing something of value. I want to get you a purpose, right? But we can't, I don't want to keep rehashing the same things over and over again. If you're frustrated and things aren't being communicated in the way that you want, we need to figure that out. There really is only two direct sources to get your information from, and that's either me or the selectmen, right? So getting us all together in the same place and saying the actual things is the only thing that's going to actually make this work. So, I love the math. I love the budget. I've done it for a long time. Yes, I'm pretty frustrated based upon the comments that I heard earlier in the season, but I can understand why people would expect that somehow that is my doing, right? When I'm just basically the intermediary between the groups, right? But the reason I have been going to the FinComm all these years myself is because I have a background in I have a background in finance, right? In budgeting. So it's one of the things that's in my wheelhouse. Now maybe there's a portion of that that's like, because I've done it for so long that we need to do, and there are so many new members. For a couple of years, I did do a basic sort of, let's go over what the budget is highlight meeting, right? At the beginning of a season, like, this is how it works. These are the departments. This is what the funds mean. This is what this looks like. These are the expenditure reports. I've done those in the past. We didn't do that this year. We probably should have done it last year and maybe even during the pandemic, right? Especially because there are new there are members that want to participate here, and I get it, right? But I can assure you that I am as frustrated as you are, that I have to keep trying to understand what the mystery is about something that should be so straightforward. So, but I can ask the CPC to go ahead, and you can vote on them on the floor. You can pass over them on the floor. You can do what you make a recommendation on the floor. That's what you do. So you choose the funding sources. That's what you do. Right? Moderator will say to you, what's the FinCom's recommendation, right? And then you'll give it. That's what happens, right? Who reads them? I don't care. You can alternate. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. That's,
Yeah. Mr. Jones would be very happy to not have to read.
Part of my frustration is literally just trying to find out what the expectation of this group is, whether we're reading them, whether we're not reading them, whether we're responsible for answering. Let me finish. Whether we're responsible to answer any questions on these items from the members in the committee or in the town. We're just trying to find out what our role is in this and it sounds to me like it's been changing, or it is changed, has changed.
The only difference is who's reading it. So if there's questions about expenditures and financials, we should both be able to answer them, which but it shouldn't just be the FinComm. It should, if the question is, why does the fire chief need a truck this year, as opposed to something that's the selectman's budget priority? That should be the selectman, right? If the question is, do we have enough money in CapEx to fund this type of truck, that should be you guys. If it's, well, where does this fit on a larger capital plan? That's probably both, right? It shouldn't be one or the other. So if you were asking my opinion on which ones the FinComm should do versus the selectmen, my opinion is you should definitely do the budget. That should be in your wheelhouse. I think the revolving account limits should be you. But at the end of the day, it could be either. So But to me, I think the FinCom has a large role at town meeting, and it should be the budget. So that's,
So to me, it sounds like the role and responsibility of the financial committee could be summed up as an Excel spreadsheet automatically highlighting black or red based off of the summation of a couple of line items. And we either say that, yep, we check to make sure that the black and the reds are correct. And that's about it. Now, that's not what I signed up for the committee, and maybe my expectations need to be set. But it feels like we'll use the language of opportunity. We have a lot of opportunities to figure out things moving forward. And, I have t-shirts made up at work, roles and responsibilities and communication thereof. I would like to understand the roles and responsibilities of this committee and have it communicated to us and to the select board and to the rest of the town. So there's an expectation of what we need to be doing, why and how. Because I am utterly confused. I really don't know anymore. I don't know what I signed up for. And if I want to continue doing this, I take good time away from my family and my job and my life to help do this. But if there's no value and we're not really part of anything, and I want to understand what it is we're supposed to be doing here, because I'm not sure it's meeting what I signed up for. So,
Mr. Chair, may I just,
I think that's fair.
may I just jump in for a second? Kim, first of all, thank you for being on tonight. As a matter of fact, we specifically took up your attendance at this meeting, at the last meeting, to quite frankly ensure that you were going to be here because of your knowledge and because of your knowledge of the budget, right?
Well, just to FYI, I'm not even supposed to be here. I just came from a kid event. So if you want me to be at a meeting, you have to invite me. Okay. I'm literally wearing this, not because I don't care, but because I just walked in the door from a freshman orientation for my son. Happy to help in any which way, right? But just.
That sounds like that is a big disconnect, Kim. So I know that we discussed as a committee whether or not, we could have a benefit, quite frankly, of you being at this meeting. I know we discussed that. So I don't know where the disconnect on the invitation was, and it certainly should have been extended to you. And I will say for myself, I'm not speaking for the group, I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to converse with you on this.
Thank you.
Second, we rely upon you, when we rely upon you as the representative of the board, for the position of the board of the select board, rather, for what appears to be now, they're going to be the proponents of these articles. And again, this is just for me. I understand it's a process change, but I also agree with you. The proponent of a particular article, right, on the floor, we are now sort of 2 days away here, right? 3 days away, is kind of sort of, I think, besides the point. Now, what I think we ought to do, given the time we have and given the limited time that you have for us, is if we could walk through these articles with the select board now as proponent, walk through, let's identify what, if anything, and I mean, if anything is problematic here, and then sort of on a go-forward basis, we can sort of talk about this on May 7th until the cows come home.
Right.
But we're expecting folks to be there. They're expecting us to act on the articles. I suggest we do that tonight. We come up with a set of recommendations, and that may very well be unfavorable on some based on a lack of information. I respect the views of all the folks on this committee. If that is the view, we take a vote on it, and then we have the view of the committee. And if someone is dissatisfied with that, they can take to the floor and voice a minority position on that. It seems to me that's why we have town meeting. But I think in the time allotted here, I think it'd be helpful to us if we just march through these articles and take a vote one at a time here on the record, so it's buttoned up. The CPC stuff, I share the frustration on that, but it's not unprecedented. We've done that before, where we've heard about it literally just before the meeting, and traditionally we've met in advance of the town meeting to find out about sort of the last minute. And inevitably, in a budget this size, there are going to be last minute changes. And I think we just have to sort of roll with the punches on that, as we've previously done, and we take a vote ahead of time before town meeting, and then we proceed. Let's just get the people's business done here, and we can move on. The process changes that you've described, the frustrations, all of that, we can deal with that on May 7th and thereafter. If that works, for people, I think we just.
No, I think that's a good idea. We need to move forward.
All right, so really appreciate, Kim, you being here tonight. And thank you for, not only your efforts, this budget cycle, but in prior ones as well. It's much appreciated. So
Thank you.
with that, can we just sort of like march through here?
Yeah.
Setting aside who the proponent is for a moment, let's just take that it's select board Article 1. And then Article 1, fair to say, Kim, you don't mind, it's pretty standard fare. We
Well, we
introduced
only need
this.
to, I think we start with 2. Right, because,
I think that's pretty much, what this gives us the right to spend money, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think the first one is a procedural one. You can't add a change without.
Right.
Right.
To put it another way, if the chair of the select board or whomever is designated to takes to the floor and reads Article 1, I think we as a committee, when the moderator turns to the chair of the committee and says, "What say you, Finance Committee?" we want to be in a position to say, Article 1, either we are in favor or we are opposed. That is, we support Article 1 or we're opposed to it. And I just think that, Kim went through these 2, 3, 4. I think Article 1 is among them where we want to say favorable. We agree on Article 1.
Right.
I think.
Well, it's process, right? So is this,
Yes.
I can't see what this for, is this the motions that I put together in front of us?
No,
This,
the one-
whatever we're looking at on the screen, what is this?
Yes, Kim, on the
Right,
share.
so if you
That's-
scroll to the bottom of that page, right, in the footer.
If you just,
In the
Yeah.
footer.
in the lower right, I see what you're saying, Kim, there's a
So
finance committee.
so I added that this year to this form, right? I'm trying to make it easier so that, because sometimes they forget to ask for FinCom recommendations. So I put signature line down there because and then I put down FinCom recommendation, yes, no, or NA, right? So for this, and then I put discussion select, like I went through and basically just guesstimated like who I thought should be doing the discussion on them, but that was just my feeling yesterday, right? Anybody can discuss it. I mean, anyone could make these motions on the floor. So for the first one, it's just a process one. So I don't think the FinCom has to make a recommendation on that. But if they ask for one, it's yes, right? You don't want your budgets to be unbalanced.
Yeah. Respectfully, I think that the finance committee previously has been a proponent of it in the sense that the sponsor of that particular article, I know in my heart of hearts, previously has been Mike Maroli, taking to the floor and moving.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so in that spirit, I move that the finance committee recommend favorable action on Article 1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Any opposed on Article 1? Passes.
And now for Article 2, Mike, I'll turn it over to you here.
Yeah, we could, you want to go right through and read them all out? Okay. I apologize, my throat and voice are kind of messed up, but regardless, I'll keep going. To fix the salaries and compensation of the elected officials of the town or act to do anything in relation thereof. Article 2.
Okay, so there should be a little box there, right?
All right, so yeah.
This will be in front of you. So you'll have, what happens usually is I do all the articles like this, right? And then sometimes I send one copy over to the town clerk and the moderator without discussion written on it, and one with basic talking points on it, right? That we keep in front of us. You'll have a stack of these in front of you. You'll have this in front of you. And so my opinion is the FinCom should be reading this, but that's just an opinion, right? None of these are a requirement. So Mike, this would be one that you would read line by line. Okay?
If it's the select board's budget, which they were very clear that it's their budget and they are the proponents of all of these, that we can let Mike Morale continue the fine tradition of reading all of these if we want to. So.
See, I just want to jump in here for 1 second. Procedural. Take a look at Article 1. It says, to see if the town will vote that any motion or amendment to increase any monetary articles or line items as, here's the important part, as proposed by the Finance Committee, okay? Are we proposing these, or is the Board of Selectmen proposing these? Because we voted, if we're not proposing them, and the Select Board's proposing them, then anybody can get up and change it on the town meeting floor, because Article 1 doesn't say proposed by the Selectmen. The Selectmen are making up.
Actually, it's the opposite. Technically, they can't, nobody could come up and ask to increase or decrease any of these because none of them are proposed by the FinCom. So the way the amendment is written, it actually limits the ability to make a change.
Right. They can't move on a financial article without a recommendation from the FinCom.
No, but so technically the way Article 1 is written, no one could come up and even try to make a change because none of these are proposed by the FinCom. These are all proposed by the select board. So we've actually limited the ability for the town to even have the opportunity to make a change, technically.
Okay, so the Article 1's sole purpose is that you have to provide a funding source if you are going to make a change, which is about expenditures around anything related to the budget, right? So, or the warrant. So you have to have a funding source, which has to be voted on as an expenditure by the FinCom.
If you wanted
which
to
you're
lawyer,
doing right now.
right? If you wanted to lawyer, so I completely agree with the point, and I think we all agree with the point, right, of what it's trying to do. If you lawyerese this wording, technically, nobody could propose any changes to all of these because the way the wording is, actually, they could propose a change, but it wouldn't have to meet these requirements because none of them are proposed by the FinCom.
Right, and
So,
if it was an expenditure,
Article 1 would need to read as proposed by the Finance Committee or the Select Board, or have it changed completely to Select Board in order to be valid. Technically. So if people want to get into that level, like this was brought up, this could be brought up again on the floor of town meeting if someone wanted to recognize that and have something they want to do about that. So.
okay, well, I guess I would say I have a hard time understanding why anyone would technically, when they are in theory working as a group for the betterment of the community, want to intentionally insert a conflict into a situation. So I guess I'm saying it's not the first time. Okay.
I know.
Reading the articles or not reading the articles, or what name is listed next to the articles. I mean, if you've ever seen any other warrant in any other communities, there are not. I mean, it's arbitrary.
Yeah, Kim, if you don't mind, if I could just chime in and say, I think I understand your point here based on the modification, but I think the warrant itself is just designed to put people on notice What is critical to what goes on the floor of town meeting is the motion itself. So the point that you're making, I think, can be easily cured by just striking that language from the motion.
Right.
That's all. So the amended select board recommends the town vote on any motion or amendment to increase any monetary articles or line items. If you strike as proposed by finance committee, you do no violence to anything.
Right.
Okay, that's the end of it.
Correct.
That's a very simple fix.
Right.
No matter who reads it. So I think that we're out of dodge on that one. I think it's just a simple matter of striking that from the motion and problem solved, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Because the underlying principle here is that we just don't want any folks that coming to the podium and making a motion to increase hypothetically or decrease, increase a line item or particular budget item, for example, without
Exactly.
being able to support where that money's coming from the existing budget. So if you want to if you think the highway department's budget ought to be tripled and you take the town meeting floor, you're entitled to do that.
Mhm.
But you got to be able to come up with the money where that's coming from in these. That's all this is saying. It's
Absolutely.
procedural, right?
Yeah, but with that having that as proposed by,
Fair point.
right, it actually,
Fair.
someone could do that and say, well, the highway department budget is not proposed by the FinCom, so I can triple it and not have a.
So, I guess, Tim, may I impose upon you to maybe speak to Mike Maroli to make that modest modification to the motion?
Well,
Is that possible? Can you change it?
I can change it right now, but they all have to go through council anyway.
Sure.
So I'm pretty certain though, because any increase in expenditure has to be voted on by the FinCom, that we can't remove the FinCom if there's about a potential change. That's all. And if the issue is really a sticking point, I can change the language back to the finance committee recommends on Article 1. I mean, and you can read it. You guys can flip a coin over who gets to read it. I just know that if somebody tries to change one of the articles, you are going to have to take a position on it. And that's basically all it's ever meant.
All right, so that's fine. We can leave it, and if a technicality pops up in town meeting, and we have to live whatever happens with that. So, nobody disagrees with the purpose of it, nor the idea of it, or what it's supposed to get across. I just want to make sure that when we make all of these other changes, sometimes you put dominoes into effect that you didn't mean to.
Well,
so
all I need to do is change Article 1 to like a lot of the other articles and just put I recommend, because anyone can read it. It could be a person on the floor.
Right.
Right. So now the discussion piece, I'm assuming do you want me to put select board and finance committee? Or you want me to leave it as select board or delete it entirely? I'll stop identifying who. What would your preference be?
I default to the senior members here to see what you guys think. Determine on your side how you see it. I don't have enough experience to make a opinion on that.
What a previous town meeting said.
So typically what happens that's not on this page is there's 3 or 4 lines right here under the line discussion that says town meeting, blah, 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 that Mike Morelli reads every year. That's what will happen this year.
you know
The
what?
same lines that he's read the last couple of years.
You're forgetting, Mike Maroli, when he did it the last few years, was the chairman of the finance committee. So the chairman of the finance committee is what presents the budget at the town meeting floor. The duty of the finance committee is to make recommendations to the people of the town. That's why they have a finance committee. We're supposed to be impartial and look at things for the best interest of the taxpayer and the citizens of the town. Pretty simple. If we read the bylaws, it's in there. What's happening here, they're straying from the bylaw without changing the bylaw. So going back to Jack, let's muddle through this and see what happens on the town floor. Because I tell you, I've been to 35 of them in my lifetime, and you cannot predict what's gonna happen on that town floor.
Sure.
And our job is to be prepared so we don't look foolish up there. I could care less how any other committee looks in front of the town hall, but the finance committee should not look foolish because we're supposed to make recommendations to the citizens and taxpayers of this town. That's our
That
duty.
is true. That is true. Your job is to make recommendations on expenditures to the taxpayers as an advisory board to the selectmen, right? So there is no reason that these two committees should not be working together in order to jointly present the finances of the community. To do otherwise simply makes no sense at all. So I would just recommend that everybody just calm down about who owns what and who's reading what. And this is a very simple task.
Let's get going with
Yeah.
this.
So I apologize, where do we leave off on Article 2?
Article 1,
What an article.
We voted on Article.
We voted on Article 1.
Article 2.
okay.
All right, so fix the salaries and compensation of the elected officials of the town or act to do anything in relation thereof, or thereto.
Second.
Do I have a motion?
You just read the motion, second.
I'm sorry, second. Yep, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Article 3, to determine the sum of money the town will vote on to raise and appropriate and or transfer from available funds to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and to provide for a reserve fund for the ensuing financial year or act to do anything in their relation thereof.
Okay, I'll second that, and that Article 3 is the town budget.
Exactly,
That's
what we
right.
discussed at the last meeting.
Correct. We went through each line item and agreed with
And
it.
agreed with, exactly.
Which we do at the annual town meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay, Article 4. To see the town will raise and appropriate funds to provide to the town by the Commonwealth pursuant to called Chapter 90 money and such other funds as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Transportation, including its highway division, may provide and to authorize the select board to enter into contracts with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, including its highway division, for so-called Chapter 90 money and such other funds allocated to the town or act to do anything in relation thereto.
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
Yeah, if I may, Kim.
Yeah.
Could you just comment on this? High
Yeah,
level?
technically, sure. Technically, what happens with this one is I will be writing, I'll have last year's Chapter 90 amounts that we received, and then I'll have this next year fiscal year's Chapter 90 amounts, because someone will ask potentially. Usually we just read it to get ahead of it. And then Alan is usually there, and he will talk about some of the projects that he has. We actually just approved some at our meeting last week, so we'll have some fresh data for that. So that's another example of one that the selectmen should know the minutia on.
So in essence, Kim, if I could just sort of break down, this is a vote to appropriate, that is funds coming into the town.
Oh, sorry. You're right. Higher level. Chapter 90 funds is the money that we get from the state in order to do road repair. It usually varies between $200,000 and $400,000 a year. The last couple of years, it's been like 280, 270 in there. Alan, then it's reimbursable. He submits the forms to the state by road and project that the selectmen approve. We do them periodically through the course of the year. This is the authorization to allow us to get that money and to do it.
And just out of curiosity, what's the number this year?
I don't know. I think it's 290 something. I have to go check the emails.
Thank you.
Any
I'll
other
have
discussion?
last year's and this year's when we get there.
All those in favor of Article 4?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 4 passes. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer from available sources a sum of money to fund the Y-23 portion of the assessors cyclical inspection program or act to do anything in relation thereto.
Second.
Discussion on this?
Do we have the
Yeah.
one
Kim, if you wouldn't mind just briefly sort of describing.
Sure. So one other thing I want to say, just about this one, Article 4, and the next couple of them. The moderator may say he wants to do something called a consent calendar. And that means he's basically taking the articles that are basically annual transactional ones that we do every year and just making them be one vote to expedite time. So something like that would be Chapter 90 authorization or this assessor's inspection program. Every year they raise a little bit of money like this and put it aside. So when the time comes to do on their cycle to pay to go out and do the actual assessments, they have a fund for that. This goes into that fund each year. So you can see on this one, for example, I put discussion board of assessors. In the past, the selectmen or the FinComm do the discussion there, but on this, typically the questions would go into the crowd for the board. So I was trying there to put the right person, right? So we'll see, or it might be consent. We don't know yet. That's the
Kim.
moderator.
Thank you for that. And to your point, we see this every single year at every single annual town meeting. To help the assessors do their job, right?
Right.
So
The only difference some years is a little more money than other years. That's why there's got to be a money figure in the motion.
And to Kim's point, there could very well be consent on this one. The only possibility that may deviate from that is this is the first town meeting that we're gonna actually have the voting, right? So it may very well be, assuming but don't know, that there may be an effort to try to gain some efficiencies with the automated voting by doing it that way.
Yeah, I would think because it's new and it's our first time through, we're not going to move anything around.
Right.
Just for simplicity's sake.
Either way, but thank you for that.
Very
background.
exciting. Very exciting to have electronic voting.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor of Article 5?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 5 passes.
Kim, it looks like on that document, if you don't mind scrolling back up, it looks like on this document, the date on the town meeting is wrong. It
Oh,
says
yeah.
annual meeting on May 2nd.
Okay, I've got it open too. I can edit it right here.
Awesome, perfect. Okay,
Done.
Article
6, to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate and or transfer from available funds a sum of money to fund the Y-23 portion of the updated valuation account or act to do anything in relation thereto.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Kim, again, would you mind just providing a little bit of overview?
Sure, this is a fund that the assessors keep aside for any possible tax cases that there may be a dispute about tax or more or less. If you look on the budget, we talked about it, this is in that bottom section. This is the one she sent the email on about a week or so ago that said if there's 135, it's really 125, and we already had 125. So it depends, really their estimate is supposed to be based upon the number of court cases or pending cases that they think they have and a percentage of the overall tax base. So it's usually 125,000.
Thank you.
How come it says 17,000?
Oh, it's the additional amount that they put into the fund. Sorry.
Oh,
All those in favor of Article 6?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 6 passes. Article 7, see if the town will raise an appropriate and or transfer a sum of money for available funds for the police department, state, federal, general matching grants, or act to do anything in relation thereto. Second.
Any discussion on this?
Kim?
This one's actually a DARE grant from many years ago now. In fact, the chief and I were even talking about in the future, seeing if $2,500 even is the match anymore. We do it every year and basically on every single warrant, and it's 2,500 so that we have the authorization to do this to match the grants. But I don't, there's a possibility it's not enough, but for this meeting, it's fine. But this is another one that usually falls in consent.
All those in favor of Article 7?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it passes. Article 8, to see if the town will raise and appropriate,
No,
oh, sorry.
we don't have to.
Oh, Article 8's not ours? I apologize, I don't have that in front of me. I flipped it up. So you guys let me know, Article 9 now? Yep. All right, to see if the town will vote to appropriate and or transfer from available funds from the ATM 62920 article number 24, FY 21, or act to do anything in relation thereto. Yeah, Melissa?
So there's $2 signs. This is the leftover from when Bill bought his brush truck. And now he's transferring it back to CapEx.
Second.
So that's kind of discussion. Any more discussion on this one, guys? All those in favor, all those in favor of Article 9?
Aye.
Any opposed? 9 passes. Article 10. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow and or transfer from available funds for the purchase or lease for a brush truck, and further that the select board is authorized to accept any federal and or state grants and or gifts of any kind for the purpose of this acquisition, or act to do anything in relation there.
Second.
Discussion on this?
So this says 170,000 here, but I feel like the number 180,000 was brought up when we had Bill in.
But then I don't remember, we couldn't find any of that actually. Maybe he only brought it up verbally, because I thought he said he wanted some gear for the truck, whether it was radios or something else. Maybe that was something he was speculating on doing. Because there was conversation on it. I definitely remember the number 180, but it hasn't come up since. Kim, just out of curiosity on this, like, there's a lot of additional language in here as far as where the money can come from. Is there any sort of explanation?
Hold on, sorry, my dog is so loud.
No, it's no problem.
So-
You ready?
Yeah, so you need all that additional language because, so I don't know if you changed the amount. Like I said, I haven't, sorry, he's very loud. I don't know if it's more or less. That would come from you guys voting on an amount at a meeting, right? This other stuff is because he said he might lease it, and then he said, wasn't there a grant he was gonna apply for later in the year?
I don't remember it. That's why I just extra language. That's nothing we had discussed. This was a question for us previously that we've discussed this article. It was coming from CapEx.
Yeah, well, the extra language is if there's
Someone
if
wants to
there's-
give you money or,
yeah,
I guess what I'm asking, is there any sort of idea that that could happen? That's what I'm asking. Like, is there a reason that extra language is in there? That's all I was asking.
It's yes, as far as I know. Now, granted, it was 2 months ago when I saw Bill, right, whenever he was at a selectmen's meeting, but there was discussion at that time about some sort of grant he'd know about just after the beginning of the fiscal year. And the award was, I want to say, end of August. I can text him.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But like I said, but the language should stay. We can't remove it anyway. We can't do that. We can amend it it can be amended on the floor, right? But whatever's on the warrant has to stay. So if it was printed on the warrant, it's got to be in there.
Yep, no, I wasn't trying to amend it. I was just trying to ask for further explanation. All those in favor of Article 10?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 10 passes. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds as a sum of money for the town hall campus improvement and or act to do anything in relation there.
What's the sum?
11 is $332,850 from free cash, $350,000 from stabilization for the town campus improvements.
By the way, in terms of process, don't we need to do the other articles that feed Article 11 first?
No, actually, it's like a house of cards. we need them all to pass, but they're not if this didn't pass, for instance, we could still pass the other ones. We could. We just have less money going into the actual cycle, right? So that, like, for instance, I wish I had moved the ADA compliance ones for the path up to this too. It's at the bottom, it's confusing. It's like 26 instead of 16, but I wish they were all grouped together. But one could pass, one could fail. They're all independent. So ideally, they all pass.
So the idea is that for 11 through 14, they're all for the town hall campus,
Right.
moving from other accounts into the town hall campus fund to finish up what's needs to be done. That's all, those are basically the same. I mean, the dollar amounts are all different and they're moving from different accounts, but they're all for the same purpose, right?
Right. And so let me just pitch to you, since we've been working on it yesterday and today. We are going to do a presentation on the project. So when we get to Article 11, there'll be a presentation by Ann Mazar, Kathy Schofield, Dan Byer, the two chiefs, and myself, the committee about the campus. The first couple slides will be picture of what the rendering is going to be on the campus. Then we're going to show some old-timey history photos, right? Then we're going to get into current conditions, and then we'll have the estimate of the price, and then I'll have these funding sources like this, and I'll tie the funding sources to the articles on the slide. We'll probably also do a handout on the funding. We could try to keep it as clean as possible, right? But and simple, right? Basically, we are, for greater accountability and ease of accounting, we are trying to move all these funding sources into one location, right? In addition to that, we are asking for free cash of $350,000, well, 333, and stabilization 350 in order to help us cover the project cost, right? That's the pitch.
What's the total project cost?
Right now, we have a hard estimate of $748,000 plus $300,000 of costs not included. So I'm about 1.1. However, they are revising that. I expect it to go up today or tomorrow, and we will have some of that 300,000 included in the cost, but I'm expecting it right around $1 million, $1.2 million.
I don't mean to derail this because I know we're trying to get this reduced, but I don't understand why that presentation wasn't brought to the finance committee and that we don't know about that.
Which part of it?
All of that. You said that there's going to be a presentation at the town meeting around the campus and all the spending for all this.
We're making the presentation right now. The estimates are coming in, like the final estimates for the bid packet are happening today and tomorrow. It's happening now. But the overall plan for the campus and the design, we've had for about 6 months now. We've had a committee working on it. The cost estimates are the same numbers that I had on this spreadsheet that we sent, that 758 plus there's like 300,000 on the bottom. Those are the same numbers. That's the detail. And in that same folder for the articles, there's a cost estimate sheet in there that I think is the 758. Those are all this past month, right? So the confusing part comes in where we have leftover money, unspent money from previous capital projects that has to be reassigned, right? And we've talked a little bit about that. We have one that was from Complete Streets and Town Hall Campus. Technically, we don't even have to move that because it's already labeled correctly, but we're going to move it. And then we have another one from the sale of property on Inman Hill Road, which has to be allocated to a capital project. And so this is that project. So each one of these. And now the bid packet is actually being written right now. The specs, everything is coming together. It's going to go out. We won't have the final until after town meeting. So our hope is that it gets funded like this as is with the numbers that we have, and then we don't have to come back with add alts for in the fall. We're trying to avoid that.
If I may, to Nick's point, I think that for us to be making, a a favorable or unfavorable recommendation, quite frankly, would be premature based on what is shown at the town meeting. So I would move on this one, that we would move to make no recommendation on it, because frankly, we don't know of the present.
We have, the financial details are in the folder. The estimate is in the folder, right? So everything that I have, you have. It's in that folder.
SharePoint.
Yeah, and Kim, I'm not suggesting that ultimately I wouldn't take the town meeting floor in support of it. And by the way, great job on the paint. I love the fact that the building's been painted. It looks terrific. The town hall.
Oh
painted.
my goodness gracious.
And have been made at the tax collector's office. I've been in there. It looks terrific. All I'm saying is that procedurally, I if I'm hearing Nick correctly, I feel uncomfortable making a recommendation on a presentation, that is literally still receiving input, right? I mean, if you're still getting money, I don't think that I can comfortably recommend favorable action on this, but I'm just speaking for myself, not for the committee. I just can't do that.
Well, let me just say this, and I'll send this cost estimate over. We don't actually know what the cost of the project is going to be until we bid it. Right? The question is, it could come in substantially higher. It could come in lower. That would be a miracle, but it could. The question is, do we support the expenditure of these amounts of money from these sources for this project, right? So to your point, I mean, it's hard to know when we don't know what the number is. Even if I tell you it's, 758 plus 300,000, so it's 1.1 and I've got 1.1, if it comes in at 1.5, right, then what, right? There's a lot of things. So
well, let me, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. A little delay. Quick question for you, Kim. So if I'm understanding that articles as presented here, as Nick went through them, multiple articles, is the design on the articles essentially merely to collect the money from various accounts and pull it together in a bucket, pending a decision on how exactly it's going to be spent?
correct.
Okay, so
Because
I'm sorry, go ahead.
right. And so that's basically, it's to say we want to save, and that's what we've been doing with the free cash. That's why we didn't spend the free cash, right? We want to put all these types of monies together in anticipation that we are going to have an actionable price that we can operate off of for this project this year. And if not, we're going to have to come back in the fall and figure something else out. And right now we feel like, because we have been, preparing different ways, but the last couple of years, by getting grants and by getting earmarks from the state, and basically doing everything we can to do it without having to put any pressure on the taxpayer at all or do a debt exclusion. We're doing it in-house, basically. We're in a rare situation, right, that we can fund something with money we already have. So it's a bit unusual, but typically we won't know, right? Just like the police station was 5 million and then it came in at 6 point whatever. I mean, we have to hope that it's enough, that we've moved the money and we can get started.
Right. So if I'm understanding this correctly, and I'm sorry to be reducing this to this language, but I just want to make sure I understand it, is that the motion is merely to pull the money together, but it's to pull the money together for town hall campus improvements. Now, the town hall campus improvements, however, are TBD, right? And TBD within the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. So they're not going to be individually voted on, right? So the idea is that, for example, when the select board has no intention of sort of putting out a separate motion to say, what say you on a sidewalk repair? What say you on paint? What say you on lights? We're effectively handing the money to the board in their discretion now to spend as it's appropriate based on this plan, basically. To be
Right.
presented.
Right, and the plan is we are going out to bid, the bid documents are going to be finalized. Where my timeline is, but we have an architect that we got through a grant, the MVP grant, who basically has put together the estimates for us, has done the site work, who is preparing the bid documents, and we're going out to bid what has to be the bids will come back for selectmen approval of firm on June 22nd. Okay, so it's happening right now as we're doing this. The bid document is being finalized and we're going out to bid on the project now. All we have at this point is an estimate from an architect.
So what you're saying is you sent out a bid proposal without acquiring the funds yet?
No, I'm
Right.
saying we received a grant for an architect has done a study. The cost estimate is in the file folder. You can look at the details of what's in the estimate. There's a very detailed plan in a committee that's been working on the project. We have put aside the only additional request for funding that's in here. The only additional new request of money that's in here for the project is the $350,000 from stabilization, in theory.
What was in the bid package? What did we send the bid package on? What did that entail?
We haven't sent the bid package yet. They're preparing the bid package now.
And you're gonna receive it in June?
Yes, we're going to award it in June
Award a bid to who?
to whichever firm.
That's what I'm asking. What was the bid package that went out that firms are out there bidding on? What is it?
The bid package is not out yet.
So we're rubber stamping something that we don't know anything about.
So there is an estimate for the project that was put together based off of, so a grant was provided to the town and an estimate of what the project would cost
Was provided by the architect.
was provided by the architect, right? So based off of that knowledge, they've been putting the funds together to help support that project. We are being asked to vote to move money to support the estimate as provided by the architect, in which case that money that is then available for that project. The next step then, right, is for bids to go out, bids to then come back. The town then needs to approve actually spending the money based off of the bids, right?
Town meeting needs to just approve the moving the money. The selectmen signed the contract.
So, all right, so this is essentially then approving the overall project.
I have a question, it's just a process question, and maybe this is out of context, but if we need town approval to spend $170,000 on the brush truck, but we don't need the taxpayers' approval to spend $1 million or whatever the number turns out to be in June when it comes out, I'm just a little confused.
You need town meeting approval to move the money from CapEx to spend it on a brush truck. The expenditure, the process of the expenditure. This is would be moving money with the intention of using the money on the town hall campus. Yes, in theory, you could say, now we've put all this money in one account and we don't go out to bid. That's true. It would all be sitting there in an account. The only actual obligation at that time is that it has to follow the actual wording in the motion on the floor. So if it says town hall campus improvements, that's what it would be for. But the alternative, of course, much like with Inman Hill and Complete Streets and the money that's been in those accounts is, or Bill's fire truck money from earlier. I mean, we either are holding them or we return them, right? So if something were to happen and the bid came in at $2 million or $4 million, which is outrageous. I mean, at this point, it's $1 million. So, but if it did, that's something we'd need a debt exclusion for, and that would change the financing picture entirely. I mean, this is our best attempt at trying to fund this project in this campus in-house with funds we already have.
I think it's a great idea. I was just curious to know just the answer of the process, that's all.
Yeah, we have to say basically what we're using it on, but we don't have to specify which. That, and so like, to give you another example, there's an article on this warrant about RFPs, request for proposals for 2 properties that we went out to bid on, Morrison Drive and on North Ave. And that the transaction on the floor is simply to get town meeting authorization to allow the selectmen to consider the sale of either of those parcels. It's not to identify which of the things they'll select, if that helps clarify.
Yep, no, there's a little more flexibility than I thought there was, that's all. Okay. That answers my question.
So if a citizen doesn't believe that we should spend $1 million plus on town hall campus renovations, what is their mechanism to voice that desire or vote on that, I guess? Was that already voted on?
It would be town meeting. So let's say, so we could spend whatever money we had within our operating budget, right? And another $169,000 that's already been approved. And we could spend the ADA money for the sidewalks. All of that is basically already within the ability to be spent on this project, right? The additional amounts, so the free cash we have to allocate to something, or I'll just roll back into free cash again for next year. Asking from stabilization is a 2/3 vote. That's an ask legitimately. That's saying, hey, we need this money for this, but it's town hall campus improvements, right? So it's not more specific than that. So if someone like has an objection to saying, well, I don't want a gazebo, or I want a different kind of tree, you know, those are great things to bring to the committee, right? That's where we can, that's right. But, or if you just don't think it's a good use of tax dollars at all, and that we should, I don't know, save it for something else, that's another option, right? I mean, legitimate arguments, potential arguments, you know, stabilization's always tricky, right? Why would we want to, we never really want to take from our reserve, but we are over the target. We've passed the 12% target. And so this 350 is the amount that's over the target. And so, and that's what stabilization's for, right? But you could theoretically say, well, I don't think 12% is enough in reserve. I want 15%. Okay, that's legitimate, right? That's makes sense to me. And I actually even agree with that, but that's that's not what our current financial policy is. You could say, I don't want to allocate that free cash, but at this point, the fiscal year is about to be over with, right? You could say, I want to use that free cash to pay for the snow and ice deficit, right? And I could say, I'll say, and it's true, we'll have enough money within our operating budget unexpended that we can cover it this year, so we don't need it. So I'm just saying, like, there are some legitimate thoughts about those pieces. The other pieces, like Inman Hill Road, you can say, okay, well, no, I don't like this project, but it's got to be another capital project. So we need something else in the future to come along, right? So that would just remain there. What else is there? That's it, right? Right. So those are the funding pieces. You know, ideally, it's easier for everybody, especially when there's grants involved or earmarks or whatever from the state, if it's in one account that we are, you know, charging against, but we'll work within whatever we have, basically, to get whatever we can get done, right? We're already moving that way.
Any other discussion on Article 11?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to what I said earlier. I'm like highly in support of updating the town hall campus. I think it needs to be updated. I think the center of our town needs to represent the community. And the fact that the building hadn't been painted for a number of years, it's been an ongoing discussion with the finance committee and select board and Kim, trying to get the town hall campus to look appropriately for the town. And so I'm highly supportive of that, but I cannot support moving funds and not having the presentation be shared with us, and not having the committee come and represent what they're planning to do with that kind of, I just
want to add in the discussion part here, if you remember right, we asked the park department to thoroughly explain why they needed $300,000 on there. We told them, get a plan, we told them that last year, the year before, put together a plan. Don't come and say you want X amount of dollars with no plan for spending, because we're not gonna recommend it. I agree with Nick. That's what's being asked us to do right now, is to rubber stamp a bunch of funds without the proper plan.
Yeah, but
Present
the
it to us.
information, yeah. And it's not that I'm not supportive of fixing the town hall campus, because I think it needs to get done. It's just that I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I'm in full support of doing something with, it's the center of town.
Okay, well, you've got two members on the committee on, right now, Ann is on and I am on the call. All of the details of the files are in the folders and we can go through them. Much like Parks was invited to come back to a FinCom meeting before town meeting to go through it because you had follow-up questions. We're here by chance to answer them and to show you the designs if you're interested.
This could take long.
Yeah, so why don't we put this on hold right now, I guess, and we'll keep moving forward. You wanna put Article 11 on, you guys wanna?
Put it on hold, let's get through
Let's go through the rest.
Well, 11 through 14.
Yeah.
Yes, 11 through 14. Okay, we'll hold that, thank you. All right, so Article 15, I believe is next. All right. To see the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the available funds for the roof replacement at Inman Hills Road or act to do anything in their relation to.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
This is for the shed.
Yeah, I believe it was 20, can you just
25,000?
scroll down? Yeah, 25. Has that stayed the same, Kim, or has there been any bids come in on that since then, or?
I don't know of any change.
All those in favor of Article 15?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article 15. Article 16. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer from available funds a sum of money to operate the water enterprise fund or act to do anything in relation to.
What's that figure?
Come on. Okay. Is there any additional information on this one, Kim?
On the Water Enterprise Fund, that's a totally separate board.
Oh, yeah.
There should be a budget that you have been presented, that you have discussed with them, that you have voted on.
Yep. No, we talked about hires, we talked about a couple of different things there. Talked about the fact that they were able to self-fund, replacing some lines that they had, but they did talk about, you know, the future was gonna be tough.
Yeah, continuously.
Exactly. You know, they're making enough to do minor repairs, but they've got some aging lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why do you have a motion?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, we're not, what do we, yes.
Why is it not a motion?
Yeah, I guess what would the select board be reading here?
It's the Water Board.
Oh, okay. They would go through their details.
I mean, we went over the water board's budget. We didn't go over any sort of additional expenditures in the water department, did we? I don't have any knowledge of that. In my memory, if I can,
Right, right here.
unless someone came through a document,
It's right
I
here.
can see it.
There it is.
Oh. Mike, that's, you can just quickly show something. Share that. Veronica. Meetings.
There it is. Read that.
Yeah, I can read that, but I can't read this. Okay,
Salaries, 4,700, contracted services, 12,500, expenses, 13,500. Purchase of water, 160 grand. Water infrastructure repair and replacement fund, 27,271. A total of $217,971. And that $217,971 be raised as followed from department receipts of $197,971 and retained earnings of $20,000.
So what's on the water department's budget on that? How's that different from the budget? It's on the budget.
Yeah, I guess we went through this as part of the budget discussion. I'm also confused why this is separate.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
I feel like this was approved with Article 3.
Well, I think it has to do with the enterprise fund, which is basically their kind of,
Is this a revolving fund?
no, this is their fund, I believe, to do kind of ongoing, like big maintenance.
Okay.
Specifically.
Right, this was their fund that if, whatever, they have to replace a big section of piping in the street, this is what they pull from.
The water department budget I've got salaries at 23,700. Oh, I'm sorry, expenses at 23,700. I've got salaries at $1,463.
Yeah, I feel like all of these are line items.
Right. There's two line items in the budget. Salaries at 1,400, I'm sorry, 23. $1,463, expenses at $23,700.
I remember going through this with them during the meeting, but
I just don't know why the salary figure is different, man. And the expenses are 13,000, that would be 27,000. No, that's not right.
Maybe Kevin can,
Talk to us.
Before the meeting. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think he's gonna be at the meeting.
maybe Dan. Is Dan?
Dan.
And maybe it was over. Okay, Article 17. Moving on, Article 17, to see if the town will vote to set, the limits on the revolving funds in accordance with MGLC 53E 1/2 as follows, or act to do anything in relation thereof. Revolving funds in their associated spending limits, library 6,000, planning board 30,000, highway 25,000, conservation committee 25,000. Parks, 165,000, fire department, 10,000, Title V board of health, 25,000, and police department, 15,000.
second,
Any discussion on this, guys? All those in favor?
aye.
Now we're going to what, 2022? 22. To see if the town will vote, sorry.
So these are the CPA ones where.
Yeah, I did get word from Lonnie and everything.
So we just voted them at that CDC meeting, as they're written, they all pass.
So the one that we got emailed today.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, okay, we'll use that as our.
You want to pop that up on the.
Yeah, that might be best to get that, yeah. There's more on the. Yeah, that's right.
Here you can. Just, is the window open so I can show? Oh, okay.
What does this say?
Definitely not. I can read it off the paper, it's fine, I can read it off of here.
Ron, you have a copy?
Yeah, actually, I don't know.
Okay.
It was the one that was emailed today, right? Yeah.
All right, so Article 22, the CPA. Is to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the community preservation affordable housing account to renew the position of the part-time affordable housing coordinator for the Y 23 or act to do anything there in relation to. 20,000 dollars.
Yeah.
Is it's $20,000 transfer. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Is there any discussion on this?
We already voted, so.
Loving my life. All right.
As a report of what he accomplished last year, been handed in, or is there such a report?
I'm sorry, he is who on that?
So it's the affordable housing code, correct?
So he didn't, so last year, he actually didn't take any of the salary. So this, what happens is if he does do any of that work, every year the money has to be allocated in, out of the CBC funds. And he does do the work, but there was none, I believe there was none taken last year at all, so there would be no. So that money goes back in the CBC, but that has to be voted back up.
That makes sense. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of money from the community preservation accounts to fund the Y 23 police station debt exclusion or act to do anything in their relation to it. So 23. Second.
So now discussion.
Yeah, I mean, just read discussion. Yeah, I was just gonna read this part too, but I'll stop doing that because I keep getting jumped on. Is there any discussion on this?
What's the debt schedule?
The community preservation committee recommends that the town transfer $55,553 from the community preservation historical preservation account and $79,702 from the community preservation budget reserve account to fund the Y 23 police station debt exclusion. And I so moved. And I did see the amortization on, it was $135,000 was on the, Jody posted the sheriff one file. So it is up there. It shows the amortization of it. Any discussion on those guys? All those in favor? Any opposed? Article 24, to see if the town will vote to set aside for later spending for the Y 23 community preservation revenues 10% for open space, 10% for historical preservation, 10% for affordable housing, 65% budgeted reserve, and 5% for administration, or act to do anything in relation thereto. And then all the values are here on the email.
Too far.
And that's the same percentage that it has been historically used.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know any of this.
Can you give us an example of the administration cost?
An example of what we use it on, you mean? What they're used for?
The 5% for administration, give us an example of what that money would be spent on.
Yeah, most of the time it's used on assessing a property or a historical building to see if it's worth using CPA money on. So it would be like an appraisal, or like for the records room, they're doing an engineering assessment to figure out exactly what needs to be done on the building so that then they can come back and request CPA funds. So it's mostly used to analyze projects, I would say.
Any other questions on this, guys? All those in favor of Article 24? Oh, you didn't? I thought Mike did, yeah. All those in favor of Article 24? Any opposed?
Article 25. See if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the community preservation account to fund the renovations at the Mendon Town Beach. Have to do anything in relation thereto.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
At the last meeting, I asked, had the legal weighed in on using CPA money, and Ann thought, you thought that there wasn't gonna be an issue, but we were gonna double check with legal. Did that happen?
Yeah, I sent a email to town council, but they never responded. I can, reach out again. But I could not find anything in the legislation that talked about that, but I'll ask town council again and hopefully they'll respond.
Just because, like I said, things around the lake have come up where folks have kind of questioned town spending on access when they don't have access, so. I just want to make sure that we're.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like if we didn't charge, the town didn't charge at the beach, then, I think the maintenance for the beach comes out of the fees, so it would end up coming out of taxpayer money in some other form. But anyways.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of Article 25?
Aye.
Any opposed? Article passed. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the community preservation accounts to fund the ADA compliant walkway in the town hall campus areas, access town hall and the old Taft Library, or act to do anything in relation thereto.
Second.
So this funding would make it so that the two historic buildings, the town hall and the library, would be accessible from the front sidewalk and the parking lot. And so this would be a good way to use some of the CPA funds to, support this town hall campus project.
And how come this isn't part of the other project, or it is, but just a portion of, this portion of it can be CPA funds and other portions can't?
Yeah, this is the only thing we can use CPA funds for. And it probably should have been grouped with the other items, but it wasn't. But yes, it's part of that project. But CPA funds are supporting a third of the police station project, which is part of the town hall campus, which you guys just voted on.
Any other discussion on this? All those in favor of Article 26?
Aye.
Article 27, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the community preservation accounts to fund the housing production plan, or act to do anything in relation thereto.
15,250.
Yep, to move. So the community preservation committee recommends the town transfer 15,250 from the community preservation affordable housing account to fund the housing production plan, and I so move.
So Ann, what's the housing production plan?
Do we have a second on that?
Yes, it's a document that gives all the information on the housing needs in Mendon and how we can work towards having more affordable housing in Mendon. It's sort of like the open space recreation plan or a master plan, but it's focused on the affordable housing. And the advantage of it is that it gives us like kind of a roadmap as to how to move forward with affordable housing. It's really complicated because it's not a profitable for developers, to do affordable housing. So you need to provide incentives and use other ways to provide the housing that Mendon needs. And it also gives us access to grants. And previously we've gotten 2 grants because we have a housing production plan, but it's out of date now. And so those are the reasons that we want to do it. And this is funding would be given to CMRPC so that they could help us do it, because it's sort of a complex plan and they have access to a lot of the statistics and information.
Have those grants been above the cost of the plan?
They've been, I don't have it at the tip of my fingers, but yes, it's been like $50,000. It was 2 separate grants.
Yeah, so doing this is helps us, yeah, it's a net positive financially, right? So.
Yeah, and you're also using affordable housing money that can only be used for affordable housing. And so it makes sense because it's helping us move forward in an intelligent way that's going to be positive for Mendon.
How long is this plan good for?
5 years.
5 years. All those in favor of Article 27?
Aye.
Any opposed? 27 passes. Article 28, to see if the town will vote to transfer some of the money from the conservation accounts to fund a survey for 52 Providence Street or act to do anything in relation to it.
What's 52 Providence Street?
So 52 Providence Street is a property that was bought mostly with CPA funds. It's around 70 acres. But the senior center, the town wanted to buy it for the senior center expansion. So the town bought 1 acre of it and then CPA bought the rest. And so the property needs to be used for, either open space, affordable housing, recreation. And so we've been working to try to put some affordable housing in this location on actually 3 acres of it. And so an RFP is almost completed to send out, but we need to survey the exact area that would be used.
Yeah, so this is behind the senior center, the affordable housing that we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, yep. And you need a public water supply. And so for it all to work out, the developer would purchase like all the zone 1 of the public water supply area. They couldn't build on it, but it needs to be protected. And so that's what needs to be mapped out so that when the RFP gets sent out, everyone is looking at the same information to provide a bid.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other discussion on Article 28? All those in favor of Article 28?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Article 29. To see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the community preservation account to fund the survey for an easement for the Muddy Brook Estate subdivision off Daniels Road to access the well site on 52 Providence Street or act to do anything in relation to.
Second.
So the property, the 52 Providence Street is it's very wet, it's rocky, it's hilly. And so the site for the public well is on the east side of Muddy Brook. And the easiest way to access it is through the Muddy Brook Estate subdivision, which is an open space subdivision. So the town will be getting a parcel of open space. So this easement would be drawn out just so that they could access the public well supply for when they, once it's put in, hopefully, and built, they can, check it.
Now, this is just for the survey. This isn't approving the easement. If I remember correctly, there's a lot of discussion at previous town meetings about the existence of this easement and whether that would be approved or not, or that already been approved.
The easement is it's in the conditions for the Muddy Brook Estates subdivision. And so that's approved. It's just that it's really hilly terrain. And so we need to mark out how that access would reach the public well supply. And then behind that, it would be open space because of the zone 1 and the protection of the public water supply.
Right, but to Mike, to your point though, we had tried to get an easement before the subdivision was a plan to go in. Now this easement is from the end of the subdivision just in so that they can get to the well. So it's not that same easement we were talking about back in the day at the town meeting.
Okay, yeah.
You're just surveying.
This would just be so
Yes.
it's on the plan because
Yes,
the
that's
engineering
just
plan for
surveying.
Muddy Brook has already been submitted and approved. We can't ask them to do it now. We have to. do it.
Okay. All those in favor of Article 29?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Article 29 passes. Okay.
This is the last one in chronological
Yeah.
order, right?
Yeah, that's the last one. I think that's the last CPC, one, correct?
Yep.
And thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're
Well-
welcome.
Mr. Chair, may I just raise with the committee, possibility of addressing the town hall campus, but we do have the benefit of Kim Newton. And we do have the benefit, I know he wasn't scheduled to be here, but we do remember the board of selectmen here. Board of select board rather, and perhaps we could, hear from some combination of
Okay, you have two selectmen on actually now, but they're not posted, so they can't deliberate, but they can speak individually on their own.
Great, thank you.
Mark's here too. Okay.
If you could, if you wouldn't mind speaking.
And Anne has also a crucial role in this committee.
And Mazer as well.
And, thank you.
So, yeah, what are the questions? I suppose let's pose them and then the right person will answer them. As whoever's, there's a lot of.
Sure. I guess, at least for myself,
Mhm.
and I don't think you were one, Nick indicated that there's a great deal of support for the improvements, and as a matter of fact, they've been noticeable, the improvements that have been made thus far. And I think you're gonna enjoy a great deal of support from the community. What we want to know is that we could just sort of hear overview wise what the plan is. It sounds like it's sort of two-stage rocket. First rocket, pull the money together from these various sources to have in a bucket,
Mhm.
and then second, to spend it, right? And just sort of an overview. We've seen obviously what's available here on the SharePoint site.
Yeah.
But if you could just sort of give us an idea of like sequentially, what we plan to be seeing, what's left, what is sort of like gonna be undone, what are the question marks? For example, I know that there was a well issue, right?
Sure.
And if you could address perhaps even like the well, anticipate that this is gonna be the end of the line. We anticipate that, no, it's not the end of the line, that there's gonna be more money that's gonna be needed down the road, that kind of thing. At least for me.
Yes, it would be helpful to understand kind of what are the big ticket items.
Yep, sure. And I'm gonna take a stab at this. So Kim, help me out if I miss something.
Well, I'm just saying, the documents can be pulled up, the detail of the expenditure costs are in the folder. For ease, I just created a new folder in there and slid all the documents into one folder that's within the article, so you can see the 3 documents that you need.
Can we maybe put that one up on the screen, just so I don't watch a number here or something like this, because I'm gonna try to shoot from the hip.
Kim, are you able to share? That might be quicker.
I can't, my reception in Connecticut's always shaky.
Do you have the new rendering commit, Kim,
I
in
have-
that folder?
The new renderings in, but not the new estimates that we're waiting on, just the old estimates, the 758 plus 300 and the stuff that's not included.
All right, so I guess I'm gonna try to give just a quick overview of the way that you said it, like how's the process gonna go, what we're waiting. So, and as far as the numbers, take a look at where it is on the board, right? So far and again, I don't know that the painting of the town hall was kind of separate, right? So we started with the, there's a the whole campus project, whether or not it's part of the said campus project, as far as I've been concerned, is getting everything done that needs to be done. Right? So we've built the police station, we painted the town hall, we're going to tear down the old police station. That bid's been awarded, the wires have been cut off the building. We cleaned up all the wiring on the outside of the building so that they could paint, and Dan and I got all the wiring back in the building a different way, so it's nice and clean on the outside of the building now. The pieces, the campus piece, the parking lot redo, if you will, right? That's gonna be the big item, the big ticket item here. That has been through the engineering process, gone to planning board, I don't think did it need to go to ZBA? I don't think so, just the planning board to get that.
Planning. It went to planning.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I was at that meeting, so they went to planning, talked to them about some adjustments here and there, they made some adjustments. Trying to add a couple of parking spots, I'm not sure if they made it in, but we're looking at 33 parking spaces, 3 of them ADA compliant, so the 30 standard spots, which is a net neutral to what we have right now, right? There's going to be, and you can see this on the rendering, the new ones out here, there's going to be an escape route out the back that you can sneak out the right side of the, well, if you're looking at the campus, left side of the library. It's going to be right turn only, so you're not going to have that left turn capability. They widened the entrance to what we're currently using now between the police station and the town hall. That entrance got widened a bit to make that access a little bit easier to get in, and also you can exit from there as well. But it was proper width, but everybody that's used it could, you know, you can always, everybody can say, it's kind of a pain taking that right, going up the hill, trying to get out of the track. So they made it wider to take care of that.
I'm gonna try to share.
Sorry?
I'm gonna try to share it so you can see. The picture really is gorgeous. It's brand new. We just got a new update, the rendering, just yesterday.
Then to speak, so then we're meeting with National Grid.
Can you see this?
Not yet. Don't hold me to the National Grid piece yet, but I know it's either tomorrow or next day, something like that. We're meeting with National Grid. We're gonna get the poles out of the lot. We're gonna feed from the pole that is up on, next to the library, next to the, in between the library and the Evergreen Center House that's right there. We're gonna take underground and feed library, and we're gonna feed town hall. Get rid of all those wires that are in there, feed the data as well through their Verizon Comcast. The well piece has already been, we've already got the estimate for that. It's already, I believe, if anything, we're waiting maybe on the final paperwork from DEP. I'll defer to Kim on that if she knows, but that piece is ready to go. The well's going to go in the far back left corner, really close to the Vincent Field line. Then that will be able to bring the water back up to the town hall. If you have any direct questions that I missed, please just ask them.
Could I add a little more to that also?
Sure.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, the whole 88.
Just initially, we received a grant for $170,000 from the MVP Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. And so we hired the Horsley Whitney Group, environmental engineers, to do this whole plan. And the picture is very beautiful, but it's a really complex plan because you've got the old well, you've got all the electrical lines, as Lonnie said, we're burying. You've got the telecom, infrastructure. And so there's just a lot of moving parts to it. And it's also going to take advantage of green stormwater infrastructure, which will help with like the drainage issues and, using nature-based solutions. And it's also going to have a nice brick sidewalk in the front. We're putting lanterns in that are historic looking. So I mean, and then there's also going to be that pocket park in between the library and the town hall. And it's really built and landscaped to be something that's going to be around a long time and be very beautiful. And it's really doing justice to the center of the historic Mendon downtown. And it's really covering all the different aspects, like, Lonnie said, the well, getting rid of the police station, the old police station, and the Horsley, and also the committee that has been working on it has included the fire chief, the police chief, Kim, Dan Byer, who does a lot with the facilities, Kathy Schofield, who is with the historical, and also a landscape designer. And who else am I missing? Kim's on it. Me.
We had Alan come in to talk about snow removal from the site and design.
Yeah, and we've consulted with the planning board, the select board, and we're hoping at the annual town meeting to go through the presentation and explain to everyone. And this grant ends on June 30th with the town putting the bid out for someone to hopefully be able to construct it. So.
Also, new flagpole.
Yeah. Yes.
I think the design is actually very impressive based on the material that I saw here in the SharePoint site and also posted outside town hall as well. We put a placard out there as well. Are there any, I guess from your perspectives, are there any sort of like big ticket items that like we need to be worried about that are not all in on this plan right now? That is like a question marks, contingencies, that, you know, you just want to be ready for. It's going to be another $200,000 to do something here, which I'm not suggesting that that's a problem. It's just a question of like just knowing about it if we know.
Right, we actually had already took that into account and added contingency money onto there just in case something was there because things have been being added. Whatever doesn't get used, we'll turn it back.
Right, and if you look at the bottom of the estimate, the Horace Whitley estimate that's in the folder, you can see that their estimated cost, there's a contingency in there that would be normal with the project 358, but then there is a list underneath of all of the things that are not included in the bid, in this original bid. Some of them are going to be included, like electrical work. We just decided on that today, but there are a list of things that don't fall necessarily under the scope of the contractor that we're going to ultimately go with.
And any sort of assumptions currently sort of baked into what's proposed here that are question marks could fail. And again, I'm not being critical, but one of the assumptions we had, and a reasonable one it sounded like, was that we were going to enjoy gratis on the takedown of the existing station, which did not come to fruition, right? So is there anything like that sort of that we need to be sort of worried about in the offing here? That if, and again, I'm not asking for like predicting the future, I'm saying sort of based on presently available information.
My only one major concern is anything about once they start digging into the lot, that's it. So, you know, there's a lot of wiring, there's a lot of trenching that's got to be done. There's got to be, you know, some pipe that goes into the site. It's a very old site. I think we have a sufficient amount of money, but there is an amount of electrical work that's got to be, that we think requires additional amount that we're now putting in the bid for the contractor to handle because it's slightly more than we had anticipated. So that, but otherwise, everything else that's in here should be good. The well is separate. That is funded separately. It is separate from this. I heard that mentioned. We are just waiting on the final approval from DEP, and then we have to do some small site work related to the grading around the well. So that's separate from this. And the painting is separate from this. Those are separate projects.
And then the existing, my recollection is that the existing well presented some challenges because of the elevator shaft as well. It was so co-located close to the elevator.
The new well that we are installing in the back corner of the lot will replace the one that's under the elevator shaft.
Right. So is the plan, it's just simply a cap for that and that's the end of it?
That should be, yeah, that should be the end of it. We won't use that source anymore. And the well work is bid and funded. So that should be all set. And like I said, there's a small bit of site work that we have to contract out to do, but that should be fine too.
And where'd you put that list?
It's at the bottom. If you scroll to the bottom of the 758, all the way down to the bottom, page 2.
What folder did you put it in?
I made a folder in their folder so they could see the 4 documents. Right?
Which folder did you make the folder in?
I made it in the ATM financial articles where they are. Right? And then I did a town hall campus one at the top.
Where's the ATM financial articles?
It's in finance department.
Can someone tell me like the plan for the old library? What's like the long range plan for that building?
Wait, sorry. Go all the way back up to the top of where you put that folder. From town hall, tell me where it went.
So you have to go from town hall, go to the finance department where the budget was, right? So go into town hall, then go into finance department, then go into ATM financial articles.
No, I'm not seeing that for some reason.
You don't have that link in here? I can slide the folder over to budget if you can see budget.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if she has an X on here. That could be fine. I'll fix her up.
Yeah, all of the detail that goes with these articles has been in this folder.
I understand.
What was the question? Sorry, the old library. So, so
Yeah, what's the after that?
we don't have, so the bottom is currently used for inspectional services. We are getting an estimate, or did you get one in when I was gone, about the likelihood of creating a handicap accessible walkway at the front of the library?
We didn't get an estimate, but we've found a way that it could happen and be very suitable for a historic building and not cost as much as an elevator.
Oh,
And we think that we could use CPA funds for that. And then that would make the second floor of the library usable. But that's like, another
Yeah,
project.
it should be restored basically as a museum. It's so gorgeous up there.
I just wanted to answer Jack's question also. Having the engineers put this plan together, the Horsley Witten group has been very thorough. And so, I mean, something might come up, like Kim said, if you dig under the ground, but I think we've covered all the bases in terms of what we want to accomplish. And so.
Is there any exterior work that needs to be done on the library? Or is that?
It's to be painted.
I think it might have it here.
You got it? And is that part of this project or not part of this project?
I think it's here.
That's not part of this project.
And would we be able to use CPA money for that?
Possibly. We used it once on the, CPA is not supposed to be used for maintenance, but if it's a part of a bigger project, it can be. So maybe if making it ADA accessible and painting, then yeah, I'd say we could do that.
How are we doing? What's happening?
I'm just trying to share that document. Can you share that Excel document, please? If you don't mind, I'm sorry.
The PDF?
They don't have access to the finance department.
All right, I'll move it over to the way the budget was. It's the same folder. I'll just slide them over.
And you know what? Can you just put in finance committee? Can you just share the file for me, please? And we'll fix that. I'll fix that. Sorry, it's my fault. It's like that. Well,
Do they have access to the budget is all I want to know.
they do, but through a link, they can't just browse to it. So if nobody has a link, and then Gene's computer just died, so that was what was putting it up there. So
All right, well, let me just see if I can just share them from here.
yeah, just hit the share button.
Okay, so now I am sharing. You can see my screen. Content from camera. What am I doing?
Well, just hit the share button and then find down below. It's going to ask you to use the window or application. Click application and just select the Excel spreadsheet that you have open.
It's not Excel, but window. Can you see me now? Can you see it?
Yeah, okay, there's that. Yeah.
Right. Okay, here's the rendering.
Yep.
Haven't already seen it.
Well, she's sharing the window.
You're sharing the window or because all we still see is the folder.
I'm sharing. I opened the document.
No, I understand, but are you sharing the window or the folder itself?
When you share the window, it's just that highlighted window. It's not everything on your screen.
Share the screen, maybe.
Oh my God. What's up? Okay, hold on. Where's your shared window? Yeah, it's asking me that right now. Hold on. This is too complicated. Window. Finance committee. This one. Can you see this? Can you see what's happening on my screen right now?
Not yet, give it a sec. that wonderful Connecticut cable system they have down there.
Warned you.
No, I know. I mean,
I mean, the video has been completely non-glitchy, so I wouldn't expect.
It's called Breeze Line now. Whatever that is. Can you see it?
Do you have the link?
Oh my God, I'm just gonna send you the whole thing.
Just you email it, email both the files to Mike. Sorry, what's your last name? Gregor.
Gregor.
Yeah, thank you. And then we can get that from over here, right, Mike?
Yeah. This computer doesn't seem to have Teams on it natively. I had to go to the.
Oh, the web version one?
Yeah.
I'll make sure it's. I have a USB extended to the stuff that helps from getting so glitchy.
Oh, yeah, it's worked.
As a matter of fact, it's not the middle of the meeting. The whole thing just goes down. I feel like I have a charger in my car. Hopefully.
This is the first time I didn't bring it with me.
Kim,
Yeah,
I have the 75% level cost estimate. Should I try to share that?
the new one?
Not the
I
new
have
one.
I have the old one. It's in there. And if they had access, I'm gonna move the file over, because if they had access to the budget before, then they should have access to this. That's where all the support documents have been for all of the articles. Are you telling me you haven't had that documentation this whole time?
No, they have to use the.
Yeah, it's just, there's a funky link.
There's a link that they have to go find. I was just trying to be easier, that's all.
Oh, okay. You just gave me a
Right.
heart attack.
Stop making me look bad. We keep bringing up the breaking budget.
I thought I was making you look good with it, like everything's in the folders.
I was trying to say, stop bringing up the budget. Just type
Right, I
budget.
sent it all. Did you get it all?
Like you forwarded it to me in an email.
I sent it to the whole FinCom.
What's that thing? No, those are the most.
When did it come in? Because Mike's looking for, what was the date?
No, I mean, some of the things came in 20 minutes ago. So,
It's gonna take a second.
I mean, I just read it off.
No, because I updated them in the folder.
Technology's gonna make things better, Mike. What is this? They didn't want this.
Me and the federal never ran against problems like this.
No, we wanted the budget document. Is that
It's
in
all
there?
in there. There's everything that's in there.
Thanks, we see it now.
Come on.
So it's very fortuitous that a select board member and Ann and Kim were at our meeting tonight. I appreciate it.
All right, so we want this one, the 25% level cost
I
estimate.
had 3 meetings at 7.
Yeah.
Which one do you want? 75%?
Yes, that one, yep. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so let's full screen it and then let's share that. Yeah, we're getting there. Check.
Must be on Connect.
You know, it might need an update.
Is this one dated 4/1?
Yeah, so
Yeah, this is the very latest one. She just emailed it.
we're just bringing up one to share.
I guess, oh, yeah, all right, so just,
I think that's the same one that we'll do that.
then, Can we pick a window? Is it in, when we just, oh yeah, because it's gonna end up being. Well. There we go.
It's the elevator downstairs.
Can we make that? All right.
Now we're cooking with gas.
Getting there. Oh, there we go. That's fine. All right. Okay, so where was the questions?
Sorry, good.
That only took us 30 minutes to figure that
If
out.
you scroll to the bottom of that page, under the total, you asked me what wasn't included. There's a list underneath at the bottom of page 2 of what's not included.
Okay, hold on.
At the bottom of this page?
We're getting there.
Yeah, it's on page 2 at the bottom. After the total, you'll see that there's a list of things under what's not included in the scope of work. It's that blurry stuff down there. There you go.
Where? Qualifications?
Under there, see?
Oh, not including the scope of work. Police station demo, utility connection fees, utility company back charges, street opening permit, bonds for off-site work, police traffic details, temporary water, preparation for MPDES, SWPPP. I'm sure you guys all know what that is. Soil management plan, protected existing trees to remain, contaminated soil, dewatering at deep excavations, sheeting and earth support, trench dams, flowable fill. I mean, to be honest, Mike, you would know better, but I would have to say 90% of that list is probably not even gonna be touched on.
I think, depending on how deep you dig, you're gonna run into ledge, and the ledge problem you had putting the ecosystem over.
Yeah, but how far are we going to be digging down? It's pretty much at grade now. I mean, we've got to stretch it. You would know better,
That's
but
what I'm saying, is
we have to clean it off and then,
how deep.
yeah,
So
I don't
guess the
know.
whole point is there a set of plans going on? That's what we're being asked to okay money for a project. And there's no plans, there's no nothing.
Well,
No, there's.
yeah, there's a set of
there's
plans.
plans.
Well, what does the set of plans say?
I don't know.
On the depth, I don't know.
We have them. Let's see.
Well, yeah, somebody just was pulling you up a second.
It's on that, it's in that group. I think it's the first, it's the 8 megabyte document right there. Full set of drawings.
So I guess what's the total cost of the project gonna be when they want to put it out to
Well, I
bid?
think that budget right there, they have a hard estimate of like 750,000.
But there's more. It's
Like 300 extras.
it's $1 million, just over $1 million, right? Kim? What's the
Yeah.
You're
total?
muted.
So we're gonna, they're finalizing the numbers now. That bid is from the 31st. They're due to give us back revised numbers today or tomorrow. They're going to, after much discussion, they're gonna include, like I said, the electrical work to a subcontractor within the bid. So that's gonna get put, so the price is gonna go up. I would guess, I still think, to be safe, we gotta be around $1 million, gotta be around $1.1 million, for any other contingencies that might come up. We are always, as you know, looking for additional funding sources. We will be applying for additional grants. We will be asking for additional earmarks. We will be waiting to see if we get them, but that'll be after July 1, which is, 12 days after the bids come back. So it's all about timing and, creativity with funding sources.
I don't know why this is insane. Yeah, I mean, we can just, we can give you
It's
plenty of copies,
detailed.
you can review it.
It is a detail.
So the question is the committee feel comfortable with that, with that? Are we giving a hard number to recommend to the town?
I mean, yeah,
To
right.
raise and appropriate, that's basically what we're gonna do.
So
We feel
what is the hard number that we're bringing, what's the hard number that we're bringing to town meeting?
Right now, we're not really bringing it hard.
I'm asking
Oh,
Ken.
yeah.
Right now, the number is $1,061,661.61, which includes $119,050 from Inman Hill, $169,304.16 from Complete Streets, $33,457.45 from Police Station, $350 from Stabilization, $56 from CPA for ADA sidewalks, and $333,850 from free cash. That total is $1,061,661.
And what's the contingency?
That's with the contingency,
The hard bid is right there. Mike, what's that number on that?
758, which is slightly gonna change, but
Yeah, of course.
once we have them fine tune that.
Yeah, my guess is we're gonna have a contingency for additional things outside of the bid, about $250,000. Safe estimate.
So it's just over.
So is this committee comfortable recommending that to the town, basically?
Well, I will say from my standpoint, I'm more comfortable recommending it now with this information. But, you know, at the beginning of the evening, we didn't have any of this information.
Correct.
You know, and just kind of by chance, Lonnie was here to help us out and.
Well, I was supposed to be here way earlier, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize. All of this information has been in that folder. I didn't realize that you guys did not have access to the documents that support the articles.
Well,
They do when they do.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've been in there, but for a spending of $1 million, the expectation, at least my expectation is that someone would come and present that to us. Versus saying it's in a folder, you have to go find it.
Fair enough.
Or 2 days before we gotta recommend it to.
That's just my expectation. We're gonna be spending $1 million.
But in all fairness, these articles are not new. We've known about this. We sat in meetings together talking about all of these articles together. So there's a little fault in each side. If there was more that was needed and we didn't realize it, we'll be here. I'll be here. Anybody will be here to give you this information. However, I'm understanding your point. This presentation we could have been a little bit better. So there could be a little bit better from both sides. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I will say for me, I appreciate very much you and Ken. I know you know the wider team and the effort that's gone into this. Thank you for the additional information. It was helpful.
No problem.
Thank you.
Glad to help with that.
Yeah, I'm prepared, Mr. Chairman, to move favorable on the money movements here to support this article. I believe it was.
Can I bring up one point though that may, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, seeing as how we are going to pull some money out of stabilization, does the full amount require a 2/3 vote for all of this? Or are we gonna have to vote at least the stabilization lines kind of separately?
No, stabilization and free cash are gonna need it. It's gonna need a 2/3 vote together because it's one article.
Okay, so
Starts
just two
with 11.
entire article.
Right,
Cool.
so they're not contingent upon each other. So it's not as if one has to pass for the other. So they could all individually pass. I was explaining to them earlier, it's possible that someone could say, well, I don't want to use this money from stabilization, but I'm comfortable with you guys spending 500,000 and not approving that one, right? So it's possible.
Okay.
I would move then for the articles as presented to us, that's articles 11, 12, 13, and 14 collectively to essentially gather these funds together into a single bucket for the expenditure on the town hall improvement. I so move.
Second. Any more discussion on this? All those in favor of approving Articles 11, 12, 13, and 14 as written for the campus improvement project? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Articles 11, 12, 13, and 14 as written are approved for the campus project. Okay, was there another held item with 16 held?
Water enterprise fund.
Yeah, so Article 16 was held, and I'll reread it now. It says, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer from available funds a sum of money to operate the water enterprise fund or act to do anything in relation thereto. And then if you, you can't bring that up anymore, but Article 16, the motion has. I think I don't have it here. Yeah, can you bring that up?
Oh, yeah, this one we probably,
This one we have all.
was this in an email?
It's a motion.
Why is this thing so slow?
The shop and the chisel.
We cut this down a bit.
Mine's getting tall, Mike. I made two.
I get one.
You got one. Twice as big, so.
The email today.
Yeah, it wasn't email. It wasn't, no, I wasn't, that was email. Motions and motion the day before. And Tim's there.
Probably due to this.
Yeah, running again, it's in the browser, no content. Oh, it's not open.
Yeah, but still, I mean, this is a pretty, that's better. Where was the email?
Mike, are you gonna?
Are you sure this was an email? Were those motions in the email to us or
The water board detail wasn't in.
Oh, yeah, that was written in that motion, wasn't it, all that detail?
Oh,
that.
Oh,
It's on the town meeting motions. She sent it to Kim, to Ellen. Okay, there it is. Creative version.
Was that sent to the?
Yeah, right here.
That was sent on the second.
But that's the one from Ann.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
from Ann.
The bottom line is, Mike, you gotta have hard copies of all those motions.
Yeah.
So sign, date.
Yep.
Made,
As each one is done.
and hand it to the,
Okay.
who hands it to the town clerk.
We signed
Tried
on
on
that
that.
agreement, is that correct?
I used to just sign it. Every time it came up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You said you just email for 16, number 16? Broke it down.
The detail, I don't,
Yeah, here they are. Yeah, we're getting there. We just gotta find 16.
Yeah, this is it.
too far.
Strike that.
There. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
No,
No,
17.
stop.
yeah, give it a minute.
No, let's see, it's all, like I said, somehow you would get printed copies. We can't.
Yeah,
There it
this
is.
is what I mean. 16 didn't have the detail.
Oh, 16 didn't have it.
Right.
Where was that information then?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Where's it on? Where was that?
I don't even know, no, it's.
Can you read those
It's in
out?
the budget
It's in the
document,
budget document, yeah, it was.
which is a link, which I'll fix tomorrow.
Yeah, it's in, it was like, they had all the articles, and then this was all.
All right, can you read those values?
Sure. Salaries were 4,700, contracted services 12,500, expenses 13,500. Purchase of water 160,000. Water infrastructure repair replacement fund $27,271. for a total of $217,971. And it says, in that $217,971 will be raised as follows. The department received $197,971,000 and retained earning $20,000. I thought we saw that tonight, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did. We just didn't,
Oh,
we
you
just,
just
we
trying to
just,
get back.
we just,
Yeah.
yeah, we're trying to get back. We just didn't know.
That's the one.
So why those numbers don't match up to the,
So I don't,
budget?
what this is taking, what this is doing, right? We're taking the money from the water enterprise fund to pay these items. I don't know that they're supposed to line up what's in the budget because these come. Kim, can you answer this? I don't know that this, probably gonna say it wrong, right?
Sorry,
Because you
trying to eat dinner. The enterprise fund is independent of the operating budget. They don't line up. It's generated off of fees that are charged based upon usage in the water department and then costs related to the operation of that department.
Yeah, so this is just, so they take it.
$196,000.
Yeah, so they make 196K worth of money.
Yeah.
Right, and then this is just how that is going to be
Balance
balanced, yeah.
and their expenses.
So
it's like
retained
they spent more money than they made.
I'm assuming retained earnings is earnings that they have from last fiscal year, or?
The revolving account.
Yeah.
Well, it's what they didn't spend, I would imagine, right?
Oh, okay, maybe that's what.
Retained earnings, meaning all of the money that was spent, I can't, how much is it saying is retained earnings?
20,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it couldn't be much, which is what's left over, I think, after everything's paid. You're better off to have Dan explain it to you Friday, but I would have to imagine that these numbers came from Dan and the water board. And there's an explanation for all of that.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about that, and
Yeah, we just didn't know what was wrong.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I wouldn't mind knowing myself because I can't. answer the question.
How does it tie in with their budget, or does it at all? Or why do they need a budget then if they're paying for everything through that fund?
You know something? I can't answer that question.
I would
guess we
assume,
can find out, but it's not something new this year.
I would assume,
That's what it
that
is.
Is this something?
Has to be.
This is every year.
This is every year?
I would assume it has to be.
I didn't.
I believe
Pay it out.
I mean, didn't we set up a revolving fund last year for them?
the enterprise fund.
Yeah, last year, the year before?
The town operates and subsidizes some of the costs, just like with the Board of Health. The administrative costs and some aspects of the administration for the water board and for the department. So we do pay, there's a small amount for, I think it's 2.5 hours that we pay out of the operating budget towards the water clerk for the water board, and then expenses related to that.
That was like $16 and then I think it was 27,500 for expenses and that.
okay, so that subsidization is what comes
Of our.
out of the town budget.
So I do have one question. So the water infrastructure repair and replacement fund, is that a number, or was that actually spent last year to date, do you know?
Oh, boy.
For the 27,000, was that actually spent?
I don't have that in front of me, but based upon, is that what you just said about retained earnings?
No. So there's a water infrastructure repair and replacement fund. So I'm assuming
Perfect. So that's like their capital reserve they're trying to build based off of excess revenues and, right? That's their reserve they're building. That's why they started an enterprise fund.
Just a quick note, this is for next year's budget, not this year's budget.
Yeah, so, but they're not using any of that money, right, in order to offset the cost of their operating, right? No, just a reserve. They're just accounting for a reserve? Yes.
So I would suggest that we hold this and get a quick explanation from Dan prior to the meeting in 2 sessions. So,
I don't think it's gonna take a lot to get a better understanding. And then we'll know better at that moment in case anybody gets asked.
Actually, you know what? I'll reach out to him too and ask him to send it in an email so that we can all read it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I'd like to be able to answer that question myself.
Great.
Just one other thing, I think we're, Mr. Chairman, are we done with the articles?
I see that as being the case. I'd like to vote on the fact that we're holding on 16 until further review at town meeting. Just
I still move the whole
second.
pending explanation.
All those in favor of holding on 16 until the day of town meeting?
Aye. May I just take up a quick
Of
matter?
course, too.
One of the items that we took up during the meeting that we wanted to get some clarification on was the movement for particular articles as it's described here, and I just wanted to make sure that we get some clarification. That it's the select board that's actually going to be reading the motions for each one of these items, or is that
Yes.
still TBD?
The way I understand it would be the select, with that, however they were written here should be making, well, again, it's in my eyes, it should be making a motion. And if it happens to be a financial article, then we would look for direction from we need to get the approval from the FinCom, whether they're supporting it possibly.
Okay, I think that's helpful for me. So the idea is that previously, for example,
I feel like previously that the FinCom used to make all the motions, but they're not necessarily.
They made all the money on it.
No, I agree, but even if they weren't going to have the discussion about it, I feel like who should be having I always felt that whoever was making the discussion of it should be their article. I feel that this process may be right, but I don't know that it 100% matters at the end of the day.
yeah, and I'm not suggesting that it may necessarily matter one way or the other, because to some extent, the motion, anyone can read the motion, it seems to me, at town meeting.
Yeah.
Right, anyone can make the motion, but there was some discussion earlier tonight about Article 1, and perhaps a question here, see if the town will vote any motion or amendment to increase any monetary article or line item. As proposed by the Finance Committee, we had discussed prior to your
I
arrival,
see what you're saying.
that if it's proposed by the Finance Committee, that to some extent, that may be problematic in the sense that if the article is being now proposed by the Board of Selectmen, you may have to think about, perhaps we took up with Kim a modification of that language.
Okay, makes sense. No, I get your point.
And that was raised by, member of the committee, and I think with some minor drafting, that could be solved, or in those instances where it's money article, you defer to the chair to make a motion on the money article. However,
Just find out, we'll just make sure we do it legal, like, so we don't screw the whole annual town meeting up.
Yeah, I just wanted you to understand.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other business you guys want to discuss prior to town meeting?
No, like I said, the most important thing is for you to have a copy, hard copies of these, so that you sign it, date it, hand it to the moderator. Again, this is your first year doing it.
Yep.
You're gonna be up in front of, there could be 500 people, there could be 10 people, you know?
I think there was 3 people at one of the meetings, remember? Well, because we were just going to pass over the meeting. It was a cold meeting.
Do you get those? Will you get those for us, or is that something I should request from Kim?
Kim writes them up,
Okay, so Kim.
No, we have them all. Everything's in that email.
Okay.
those are motions.
All the motions should be in the email.
Right, we have those.
We can
and I
print those.
print them
Okay,
out.
so you can print those, that would be good. And then do we have to, town meetings at what time? 6 or 7?
7's the town meeting, but everybody should be there at 6.
Oh, do we have to post a meeting for 6 to have discussion prior to, if we
Do you
needed
want
it?
it at 6 or 6:30?
Whatever I think 6:30, right? Would be enough time to, and I don't know,
30 minutes should be enough.
okay, that's fine. So yeah, why don't we post a meeting for half an hour before?
I agree, I think traditionally, 6
I mean, I'll,
would do it,
yeah.
post a meeting.
Right.
Is there any questions from the audience? Can it be over?
Statement, actually.
I want to know what the over-under is, the town allotment, talking about the boosters, which is all the financial stuff.
Oh, God. We're gonna have some fun.
I should have been here on this Wednesday, when leash laws were.
Yeah, you want to get some people to a town meeting? You think a 2.5 vote gets people out?
Like a leash bar.
Okay, if that's everything, I'd like to, thank Kim, thank you, Ann, for coming to our meeting, it was a huge help.
She left.
Lonnie as well.
That was a recording, I think we should see later.
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys, thank you for all your time as well.
I have a motion.
I make a motion to.
Wait.
Oh, piece of business.
We have 2 sets of minutes.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as written for from Tuesday, April 26th, 2022.
Yep.
And another set of minutes.
Can I give it to you?
I believe it's 27.
Minutes from the meeting held on Wednesday, April 27th, 2000.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on these guys?
I would like the,
I'm sorry. Can I just make one quick, I was not, I was here on the 27th. There's a note.
Okay, I'll fix that. And
so on the April 26th one,
One wasn't present.
what?
No,
No, there's no one here. Oh, that's where I made the wrong.
Yeah,
wrong,
that's fine.
okay. All right, Mike?
okay, on the April 26th one, when Ann Mazar said there's plenty of money in CPA funds to get this done. I'd like to, she mentioned the amount. I just would like the record to show that there was like over $3 million of what she said in the current. Just for historical purposes, when we look back, it was a significant.
Yeah, it was less than 10%.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it was less than 10%. Yeah, say I see most of these change. Any other comment from these guys? All those in favor of approving the minutes from April 26th and from April 27th?
with the correction.
With the corrections of the adding of value and presence, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Already stopped the recording.
You gotta pop up the bottom thing down here.
I gotta fix this. Oh, and here.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
I'll see you Friday night.
Oh, we got the lights, right? We gotta check the lights up here. 1, 2.
So that automatically,
I'll take care of it. Okay.
Dan knows where to grab it, or do I need to do something?
I think, have you, is this the